Round 3 of the FIA GT1 World Championship took place in Portimao, and the two JR Motorsport Nissans led away from the front row at the start of the race, while their rivals jostled for position behind. A lunge from the Corvette of Hazemans and Katzberg spun the number 41 Ford of Claret and Martin. But up front, Richard Westbrook was building a comfortable lead in his Nissan, with the sister car of Lucas Luhr in second and the Aston Martin of Stefan Mucker in third. As the pit window opened, the second-placed car of Luhr was in straight away, and teammate Michael Krum took over, hoping some fast outlaps would narrow the gap. Westbrook stayed out a bit longer, while the Brazilian car of Zonta and Bernoldi was unable to make much progress. Richard Westbrook, though, up front with a lead of some 6 seconds before those stops had been made, finally came in to swap over to Peter Dumbreck. The pit stop went well. Michael Krum was charging down the pit straight, only to see Peter Dumbreck come out ahead of him. Unfortunately, however, Westbrook, out of that car, had serious concerns about high gearbox temperatures. And sure enough, despite Dumbreck's best efforts to nurse the car, the problem worsened, allowing Krum to take the lead. Ultimately, Dumbreck was forced to pull over to the side of the track. The gearbox had gone completely, and there was no way he could continue. It was an utterly shattering result for the fastest drivers of the weekend. Michael Krum duly claimed the first championship race win of the season for Nissan, with Darren Turner holding on to second from the Sumo Power Nissan of David Brabham, who claimed his second podium of the weekend. Lucas Luhr celebrated his first ever victory in the series, and the German pairing seems to be hitting their best form at a crucial stage in the season. Both JR Motorsports and Sumo Power were represented on the podium, while young driver Aston collected very useful points. And now we've moved 3,000 kilometres to the east, to the Sachsenring. At Aston Martin, the Hexis team is still leading the team's classification, but by the narrowest of margins. Their 1-point lead over JR Motorsports and Al Inkel arises as a result of scoring just 4 points last weekend, and they need to get back on form. For the young driver team, this is the home race, with plenty of guests hoping that Muller and Enger have better luck. In the other car, Darren Turner and Stefan Mucker enjoyed a good result last time out.
To finish second at Portimao, we didn't expect that. Now on my home track I want to do the same. I want to finish on the podium. It will be very, very tough. We have 20 kilos of ballast on board, and that's not a Aston track, I have to say. First sector, a lot of corners, not very good for us. But yeah, we will do our best, and hopefully we can finish again on the podium.
The Corvette has lost a little bit of weight for this weekend and could prove to be very competitive. The ex-Impact Team China car only scored 2 points in Portimao, but Mike Hazemans and Nick Katzberg are confident that their front-engine V8 Z06 will suit the fast corners here.
The track is new to me, but it seems like it's a track well suited for the Corvette. We need to see in free practice, but I think we can do it this weekend.
Ford struggled to earn much out of the last event, especially with a post-race penalty affecting the Bas Linders Mark Hinarici car, dropping them to 10th. Maxime Martin scored just 1 point, and he'll be happy to have Fred Makovicky back with him here. Over at Belgian Racing, Vanina X and Christopher Nygaard remain together for a second event, while Jan Claret has jumped out of a Mark VDS Ford and into the bright yellow version to drive alongside Antoine Leclerc.
Was not so bad. We just move of the Ford GT, but it's the same car, and it's a new team, the new guys, but everybody is very ready to the fight, to finish in the top 10 for Belgium Racing. My teammate, he was good, it's a French guy like me, and I hope to make a good result in the qualification, and it's most important to finish the race championship, and we will see.
Lamborghini's season has been a seesaw affair, with the Swiss racing team failing to score points with one car, yet earning consistently with the Wendlinger Peter Cox machine, and Cox is one of the few drivers to have raced here before. The Al Inkel pairing of Schwager and Pastorelli finally put some points on the board in the Algarve. Their teammates Basseng and Markus Winkelhock continue to lead the championship, but are not particularly confident about their chances here on home turf.
As a German driver, the only German race we have this year, I think the track doesn't fit perfectly to the Lamborghini, and then we have 45 kilos in the car, that doesn't help. But anyway, our whole team is motivated and we are looking for the home race.
And finally, Nissan. JR Motorsports had a fantastic weekend, scoring a total of 39 points to leap up to second in the team's championship, despite that non-finish of Westbrook and Dumbreck. And Krum and Luhr put themselves joint second in the drivers' title race. Sumo Power scored well with one car. Brabham and Campbell Walter will hope to repeat their podiums, while Enrique Bernoldi's having to learn how to speak Geordie, as Warren Hughes has replaced Ricardo Zonta.
Right now the deal is for this weekend, but I hope I can make a big impression again on the team. JRM have had the lion's share of the Nissan glory this year. It's very much at the forefront of our minds, and certainly I'd like to change that very much.
We wait. That's what we do. For 60 minutes, the driver battled out on the track, but we know our time is coming. For 25 seconds, the race is in our hands. There can be no mistakes. They cost time. We prepare, we focus, we test, and we wait. And sometimes we make the difference.
It's time for the qualifying race from the Sachsenring in Germany. Hello and welcome from me, Ben Edwards. Johnny Herbert's with me in the commentary box. And Hayley Coxon is down on the grid and in the pits reporting on what's going on down there. And I have to tell you, there was a story straight after qualifying today. The Corvette, which we thought had taken pole position, actually lost its fastest time and will not be starting on pole position. To find out more, Hayley Coxon spoke to Mike Hazemans just a few moments ago.
Mike, unfortunately, pole was taken from you. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, we just came in the pits and then we changed the tires. We want to go for another run and that was not allowed. So then they asked me to come back in the pit and no pole, so we are back in 7.
Best of luck, thank you.
Well, he's still got a smile on his face, Johnny, but it's a big blow, isn't it? Because that Corvette was flying this morning. They had pole and they threw it away on a basic infringement of the rules. It wasn't as if they'd done anything particularly wrong, but the rules are there. You're not allowed to stop at your pit box and go back out in that session without losing the times up to that point.
Yes, and of course, being he went out again, he lost his fastest lap. So on the 7th position, 4th row, they've made their job a little bit harder for themselves. It's a very, very tough circuit here at Sachsenring to overtake in the race.
So let's run you through the grid lineup then. It is the Al Inkle car, the alinkle.com Munich Motorsport Lamborghini that's on pole position, driven by Nicky Pastorelli. Giulio Piccioni's alongside in the Aston Martin. On the 2nd row of the grid, we've got another Aston Martin, the car of Darren Turner, and Bernoldi in the Nissan. Good qualifying effort from both him and Hughes. 3rd row, we've got the Dunbreck Nissan and Marco Narici in the Ford. Bit disappointing with qualifying, they should have been further up. There's the Corvette, which was so fast. Michael Krum is next door in a Nissan. Back on the 5th row, we've got Alex Muller and Jamie Campbell-Walter, Aston versus Nissan. Antoine Leclerc starts the Ford from 11th place. Fred Makowiecki, he could come through from 12th. Championship leader Marc Basseng all the way back in 13th. He's got Christopher Nygaard next door. Row 8, we've got Jiri Janak in the Lamborghini and Andrea Piccini, who damaged his car this morning. And on his own at the back is Peter Cox. Now that's as a result of Wendlinger picking up a 10-place grid penalty for overtaking under red flag in qualifying this morning. So that's why the Peter Cox Carl Wendlinger car starts at the very, very back of the grid. Well, let's see what's going to happen here. The cars are coming out of the final corner. We're all set for this qualifying race at the Sachsenring to get underway. Perfect conditions, and here we go. They're charging down towards the first corner, and Nicky Pastorelli in the Lamborghini's got the advantage over Piccioni in the Aston Martin. Darren Turner's trying to come down the inside in his Aston Martin. There's a bit of brake locking. Oh, Ford in trouble there, but oh, and there's one facing the wrong way, and it's hit by another Ford. One of the Mark VDS cars. I think that's going to be Henrici, who's been hit by the number 9 car of Christopher Nygaard. What a disaster for the sister teams running the Fords there, but Pastorelli's got away. Piccioni's in 2nd place in his Aston Martin. Darren Turner's holding on to 3rd place. And the instant we thought there would be something, Johnny, it seems to have happened about well, 2/3 of the way down the field, probably.
Yeah, I think it was someone down the inside clipped the back of the GT40 and they just spun the thing round, and then after, unfortunately, got collected once again, which we see the...
It is the number 40 car, Mark Inarici. I thought it was.
Shame.
That's the car he shares with Bas Linders. They are not having any luck this year at all. And again, it's gone wrong for them. Let's try and spot what is going on. Now, the Ford that ended up in trouble's in the middle. Down the inside went Nygaard. Oh, that's where there was contact made, I think, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think it was the sister car.
Oh, yes, you're right.
I think it was the sister car that sort of started the
yellow
GT40 there. I think that was the one that flicked
started
the back.
things. The number 10 car.
You can see it lock. It's wiggling. There's a lock. There's a movement. Yeah. And I think he hits the contacts there. And unfortunately, his sister car then bang.
Oh my goodness! So
the side.
Effectively, the mistake came from the first yellow car, the number 10 car, and it's caused the problem for the other two. Can you believe what a start to the day it is? Safety car comes in, up through the final corner they go, and 650 horsepower from each of these cars laid down onto the tarmac as they come across the line. Somebody kicking up the dust in the background. Good restart from Nicky Pastorelli, although Piccioni's just having a little look. Benoldi locks it up, and the Nissan gets a bit out of shape. Alex Muller trying to take advantage. There's Leclerc, who's still going in the yellow Ford, and he's almost been passed there, but not quite, by Marc Basseng in the Lamborghini behind him. Down through turn 3. This is all the tight and twisty section.
It is, and this is where it's quite tricky for these cars, especially this Lamborghini. It struggles for the first couple of corners with its front end, so it's got to get through here as clean as it can.
The Corvette nearly made a move there on the Nissan ahead. That's Katzberg trying to get past Michael Krum. You can see the bright red Corvette, very distinctive. He got his nose alongside the Nissan, then had to back out of it. So he, at the moment, hasn't moved up any further from 8th place. He's got Leclerc behind him. And then Fred Makovicky trying to make a move now in the Mark VDS Ford as they fan out. Don't forget that Enrique Benoldi sitting in 4th place in his Nissan. He'll be handing over to Warren Hughes later on, who's back in the series. On board that Corvette now with the youngster Nicky Katzberg, who's impressed us so much. What can he do about getting past Michael Krum, one of the most experienced drivers out there?
Yeah, well, like you say, Ben, Nicky's done a very, very good job. He's got a very good car underneath him at the moment. He's just got to sort of put the pressure on and that Nissan in front of him. And if he can do that, be consistent, keep that pressure there. He's quite close coming out of the last turn. There he is trying to pull out.
Yeah, Darren Turner was a bit slow out of the last corner.
Yeah, but he's held on there.
Yeah, so he's held on to 3rd from Benoldi.
Nicky's having a look there.
He did have a look. Nicky Katzberg has got his nose alongside that Nissan in the background. Look, Katzberg's trying to do it, but you're riding with him.
This is where the Nissan is back. This is into turn 3, and down that inside. There you go. That's what you got to do. That Nissan is quite difficult to change direction, and a good pass.
Oh no! He's lost it! Oh, Nicky, just when you got past him, Nicky Katzberg has lost it. Did he get a touch, or was that just too much right foot on the throttle? Oh,
one of the other things. I mean, nice to see a real play. Big
Look at the faces.
Done all the hard work. Done all the hard work.
He'd done a lovely move on Michael Krum. And I don't know whether there was any contact. I don't think there was. I think he just got on the gas.
He just got on the gas.
Oh, that is horrible. Horrible for Nicky. And he and Mike Hazelmans, they were due to be on pole. Let's take a look at it on the onboard here, Johnny. Talk us through
Great work
here.
there. Again, he knows he needs to get down the inside of turn 3 here. The Nissan is very aware of that as well. Keeps it tight, nice and clean, keeping in there very well. So now he's got the line. And there we go, bang, there we go, flicks it around. Again, restart, cold tyres, got to be very careful.
And of course, if you run offline, as we've heard from anybody, and he had to run offline a bit to get past the other car, I suppose.
Exactly, and it can collect a little bit of that sort of dirty parts of old rubber and dust that's there. Big shame.
Alex Haley is having a little look into the last corner. I wondered if he was close enough, and Krum gives him space there. Real opportunity. Good racing from both of them.
Absolutely, and I think he's just giving that pressure, and I think it's something that worked in his favour there. Now he's closer than what he was in the last couple of laps.
Here we go.
Yeah, I think he's through, no problem. There you go. Very nicely done, and on the move again.
So Makovicky claims the scalp of last week's winner, Michael Krum. Nothing Michael could do about that, and you could almost see him not deciding, I'm not going to fight this too hard. He's got a heavier car, Krum, with a little bit more ballast. He's got to think forward to the championship race tomorrow.
And you can see how he's already pulled away from Michael, and he's already closed the gap in front, and he's going to be on that other Nissan in I think a corner or two. That's all it's going to take. So he's very, very, very strong at the moment.
Now look, Makovic very close.
Very close, very good. The Ford seems to be very good under braking. This is that going into turn 3. We see, this is where I said that before the Nissan struggles a little bit more, but that GT40, look at that, the front of that car, look, it's like he's through.
He's gone through just like that.
Wow.
That was amazing. It was almost sort of on the exit of a corner rather than the entry.
It was. Well, again, the Nissan system has got to wait and wait and wait. And Makowiecki has just been able to just get on with it and get on and go past. So you see the Nissan just goes wide, but it's waiting, and he's just able to slip past very easy. This is looking very promising.
I tell you what, though, I reckon the Nissans have thought about this before the race. There's his teammate, Max Martin, like that. And they've almost said, look, guys, if that Ford is coming through, we're not going to fight too hard because we know it's a quick car. What we're doing is looking after our own car and trying to get as many points as possible. So down the hill they come towards that turn 3. But I noticed that the Aston doesn't run as wide as the Nissan did. Exactly. It seems to have a bit more front end here. This is where Makowiecki's so strong, but the Aston... Oh, no! They hit each other! Round goes Alex Muller. Now, he didn't do what the Nissans did when they saw the Ford coming. And why doesn't he brake? Because he's going to roll across in front of everybody there. Oh, my goodness. Oh, he's found reverse anyway. That was a little bit hairy, wasn't it? Unnecessarily hairy.
Yes.
But what he didn't do was give up the place like the Nissans did. He decided to fight it here. Cuts in.
It's a tight one, you know, he's not ahead, he's still behind. The Aston has still sort of got the advantage, and he just clipped the back and pushed him round. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any...
That's the man who's taking over the number 7 car, Thomas Enger, and it's all the guys around him reacting, and he's impassive, virtually impassive there.
Sure, there we go again. You'll see it's in just behind basically where the door handle is, so he's sort of still not far enough ahead, but he's not ahead to really sort of make that move and stick it there. You know, in some regard, maybe he should have backed out.
Interesting, up on our timing screens, incident between car 7, that was Alex Muller, and car 41, Makowiecki. No further action. No further action. All 3 of these teams are ready for the pit stops. So we're going to see all 3 in at the same time. 3 different teams, obviously. You've got the ALINKL.com Munich Motorsport guys looking after the Lamborghini. You've got the Hexis guys looking after the silver and burgundy Aston, and the young driver team, the German team, home turf for them, looking after Darren Turners. Here we go. Pit battle coming up. Who's it going to be? I don't know. Let's see. Let's watch them. Now, the Hexis Aston will be going right to the far end of the pits before they stop.
Sure, yeah, well, this is going to be all down to the crew. This is where there's a lot of hard work with all these pit stops that we're about to see, and it's going to be the guys that are the slickest.
So, the 2 wheel changes are ready to go. The driver helps one another. The drivers help one another get out, back in. And the wheel changes have got the speed off to such a fine art that the drivers are actually under pressure to get each other strapped in quickly enough to match the speed of the tyre change. So here at Young Driver, it's Darren Turner handing over to Stefan Mucker. Meanwhile, at Hexis, it's Clivio Piccioni handing over to the youngster, Steph Dusseldorf. And there at ALINKL, it's now Dominic Schwager in the car. Which one's going to be out first? Away goes the Hexis car. Away goes the Young Driver. I think Hexis have done it. And ALINKL have a problem. The early race leader's in trouble, and he's lost a huge amount of time. Out comes the Hexis car. They've done it again. That French team is astonishing on the stops, and it's Dusseldorf who gets out in front, and high fives all round at Hexis.
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, there was pressure on there, and those guys really, really stuck to their guns, and they have come out of that. Look at that. What a leg. They've come out of that with massive advantage.
And this is a really good stop by the Nissan. The Hexis Aston still leads, but the Nissan, 2 Nissans get out ahead of the Aston. My goodness, by stopping later, that has been hugely beneficial. Stefan Mucker will try and attack the Nissan here. As he comes down the inside, he's going to try and go through, and he's got past. He's got past that car of Richard Westbrook, I think that is, and that was crucial that he managed to make the move. But up ahead of them is Warren Hughes in the other Nissan, and that stop worked well. But Stefan Mucker's still on tyres that are working well, and it might be tough here for Warren Hughes to defend the place. There is Makowiecki. When is he going to come in? He's got to come in pretty soon, because the pit window will close in about 3.5 minutes' time.
Yeah, it looks like the guys are in the pits already, so I reckon we're going to see an in-lap now. So we'll be pulling over to there. You go.
Big slide.
Drift, yeah.
That was neat and tidy, and he's up into the pits. So where will Makowiecki come back out? as we've said, there's no further action to be taken on that incident between him and Alex Muller. So it's a clean run, a clean fight to the flag here. Into the pit bay he comes.
So this is where the pressure of these guys, the drivers, you know, they've done this plenty of times, same as the as those tyre mechanics. But again, you just need to do it as slick as you possibly can, because we know how good those Hexus guys have been. They showed once again.
So we wait now to see where the Hexus car is around the lap, waiting for. There you are. There's the other car of Steph Dusseldorf. This is the car that is effectively battling for the lead. That was a good start. Now Max Martin gets going, and I tell you what,
I think he's okay.
They've got a chance of taking it. We're looking at our commentary box. I don't see the Aston Martin yet.
Here it comes.
And here comes the Aston now. But look at the Ford coming down the pit exit. And the Ford could have it, but the Aston's going to have great speed down towards the first corner here. The Ford comes out in front. The Ford has done it. He's out in front of the Hexus Aston.
Fantastic.
But the Aston's flying. You're on board with Steph Dusseldorf. He's surely going to go straight on the attack here. He can't afford to wait. He's got to attack. But can he find a way past?
Well, this is where...
Oh, here we go! Side by side!
Side by side, no.
He's trying it, but Maxi Martin covers the inside.
Good
Martin
driving.
now cuts back. He spun off there earlier today in qualifying. Martin holds it this time.
Good driving. Again, that slow speed, if you keep on line, you can keep that car behind. That was tight, but he was able to do it. Now he's just got to get a nice constant rhythm on these fast, long left-handers.
Yeah, and get up to speed as quick as possible.
Absolutely.
And that Aston Martin, well, great job by the crew and by the driver, but that Ford just shows you how well Makovicky was driving by staying out there in clean air. That's what the Ford team did, the Mark VDS team. They left him out there in clean air to show the pace of that car. We know it's been fast all weekend, and he had a chance to show it, and what a great performance, and by the crew in the pits as well. So Hexus had a good stop, beating the guys that came in with them, but I tell you what, Mark VDS had a tremendous stop there, and they got their man out ahead, and he's actually pulling away now. Look at this.
Already, I know exactly. And what we were saying at the beginning, this is going to be a tough one to overtake, and I think Frederick in the beginning just showed that it is possible.
Well, draw breath time. I mean, things are beginning to settle down now, but you have to say, great performance by Mark VDS. They got him out ahead, but look how tight this was.
Oh yeah, wonderful. But again, just perfect. You know, the speed that car has shown, the slickness of those pit stops as well. There you go, a nice bit of celebration in the pits, because they've done a cracking job being able to do that.
We're focused on this race for 8, 9, 10 and 11, because this is where most of the action is. You're on board again.
A bit of a slide. He didn't quite get on the power very good there, so he's close enough. Is he going to get up the inside?
It's going to take a bit of a lunge if he's to do it.
No.
And in fact, the Lamborghini covers the inside.
It does.
Sort of aware that he hadn't had the best exit out of that last corner, so he made sure that there wasn't too much space available. This left-hander here even goes on longer than you expect, doesn't it?
It certainly does, yes. And that Ford is able to sort of really keep nice and tight to those curbs there. And that Ford obviously is working very well. Martin...
Oh, he spun it! Ha! He spun it! It's working so well, Johnny, that he's just lost the back end. Talk about curse of the commentator. It's usually me that does that. A nice one.
Oh, dear. God,
but that's what we saw this morning with this Ford. You know, it's very fast,
edgy.
but it's edgy. And exactly the same thing happened to Vanina Hicks. It happened to Maxime Martin. This is actually where Maxime Martin lost it, isn't it, this morning?
Yeah. Just seems he runs wide. You can see little bits sort of rubber bouncing around. Just wonder if, again, like I was saying earlier on, he just put his wheel out a little bit too far. He's trying to go right. Let's have a look. So he's wider, a little bit wider maybe.
Oh, when it goes,
it goes, yeah.
Westbrook from Hohenadel and Dominic Schwager, the early race leader, remember, that number 37 Lamborghini, until the horrible pit stop that they suffered. They've still got a chance of getting a point out of this race. Only down to 6th place, though, that you get a point in the qualifying race at the moment. They're 1 place behind that, but look at him get closer and closer on the run down to turn 1. Will he cut back to the inside? He's having a little look down the inside.
He's there.
He's got it. He's into 6th place, but he might run wide. Hohenadel tries to cut back. No way through.
Great move.
The Lamborghini has got it to 6th, and patience has paid off. Just over 2 minutes to go, and it looks as though it's going to be a dominant victory for the Ford of Max Martin and Fred Makovicky, which has a 6.7 second lead over the Aston Martin of Steph Dusseldorf and Clivio Piccioni. The Nissan of Warren Hughes still running. Oh, Muka is in third. They've just come past us, and Stefan Muka is in third place. Warren Hughes has lost third place. Westbrook is still here in fifth, but he might not be for much longer. Here comes the Lamborghini down the inside. Oh, he's gone off. He's gone too wide. He locked up, and off goes Schwager. And Westbrook still has it from the Aston of Hohenadel, and they're touching, almost touching, surely.
Is it being
Hohenadel. Well, he nearly ploughed into the back of the Nissan there, didn't he? So we do have changes.
That was a very unfortunate thing. The Lamborghini was able to get down the inside. I think he'd seen how slow Richard was into turn one. Unfortunately, just locked up that inside wheel and couldn't stop.
No, that's right. So Westbrook just fending off this Aston Martin, but Warren Hughes in the meantime has lost a place to the other Aston Martin, the one belonging to Stefan Muka and Darren Turner. We're on to the final lap because Maxime Martin has already crossed the line. Second place at the moment for Steph Dusseldorf. His teammate here, though, Hohenadel, still trying to get past Westbrook. Westbrook having to go ultra defensive now.
Closest he's been as well, but we've got only one turn. Again, not quite close enough to get up the inside. I don't think he'll get a chance on the start finishing line.
But here comes Maxime Martin, and what a beautiful drive this has been from these guys. They went off in qualifying this morning, and they ended up 14th on the grid on a track on which we thought overtaking would be virtually impossible. Well, what do we know? Because they have come through. Good strategy in the early part. Oh, here comes Hohenadel, still having a chance to get past Westbrook. Can he do it on this last lap? Westbrook's just trying to nurse that Nissan. Trying to go. Oh, he's there. He's got it.
Through.
Hohenadel has taken Westbrook on the very last lap, and there was nothing Westbrook could do in the end. He just didn't have the grip.
He just didn't seem to be able to turn the car at all, did he?
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
Coming through to win the qualifying race at the Sachsenring, it is Maxime Martin, Fred Makovicky in the Ford GT. A dominant performance from 14th on the grid. Second goes to Steph Dusseldorf and Clivio Piccioni in the Aston Martin of the Hexis team. Third is going to be another Aston, and only in the last couple of laps, because Stefan Muka managed to find a way past Warren Hughes. There is Muka in the background crossing the line. Aston Martin second and third in the qualifying race. Warren Hughes survives to fourth, still a great effort from him. And as we saw, the Nissans right at the end there were hanging on to stay on the track. And indeed, Hohenadel comes home in fifth. Westbrook takes sixth place. Seventh, I think, is going to go to the Lamborghini, yes, of Dominic Schwager. Brabham finishes eighth. Winkelhock is ninth. And Thomas Enger made up some places towards the end there and finished in 10th place. Fred Makovicky and the guys there celebrating as he went over the line in that win, which was by 6.6 seconds in the end, and he wasn't pushing hard in the latter few laps, so that's a very, very impressive margin. But, OK, let's go down to the pits now and hear from our race winners.
Congratulations, Maxime. Once again, the Ford GT delivered here in the Sachsenring.
Yeah, after a very bad qualifying, we started quite far. And Fred did an amazing job, so it's really nice, and the pit stop was really good, so we can win this first race, and we hope to be as good as tomorrow.
And it was so good to watch you out on track today, Fred. How was it for you in the Ford?
Yeah, it shows that we are really fast on this track. After a start a little bit difficult, I can come back, and the guy doing a really good pit stop, and Max finished the job. It's perfect for us after the start of the championship, a little bit difficult.
Thank you, guys.
Let's confirm the result then. It is a win for Ford, as they did in the Abu Dhabi qualifying race. Martin and Makovicky take victory from the Aston Martins of Piccioni and Dusseldorf, and behind them Stefan Muka and Darren Turner. Then the first of the Nissans, which was driven by Warren Hughes and Enrique Bernoldi, so still a great return to the series. Fifth place, the Aston Martin of Hohenadel and Piccini, the Hexis car. Sixth place, in the end, Westbrook. He fought hard for fifth, but had to give it up in the last lap. Seventh place, the Lamborghini that led earlier on of Schwager and Pastorelli. In eighth place, then the other Sumo Power car of David Brabham and Jamie Campbell-Walter. Ninth position for the championship-leading Lamborghini of Marcus Winkelhock and Mark Basseng. Struggling a bit, but staying out of trouble. 10th place for the Enger Muller Aston, which suffered a spin, got knocked into a spin earlier on. Luhr and Krum, winners last time out, were only 11th here today. 12th place for Wendlinger and Cox, who started at the very back of the grid for this one. 13th place for the Belgian Racing Ford of Leclerc and Claret. 14th place for Max Nielsen and Jiri Janak, but they went out, classified 16th, but also out of the race, Hazemans and Katzberg. And welcome to our live coverage now of the championship race here at the Sachsenring. The qualifying race took place on Saturday afternoon. It's now Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock local time, and ready, seeing the cars already on the grid. And I wonder whether that Ford is going to be able to repeat the performance we saw there. An absolutely brilliant display from Max Martin and Fred Makovicky, taking pole position as a result of winning the qualifying race. Ben Edwards and Johnny Herbert with you once again. Haley will be on the grid and talking to drivers as well in just a moment's time. Johnny, it was such an impressive display. They came from 14th on the grid to win today's race. They've just got to stay in front because they're starting from pole position. Yeah,
a little bit easier for them, but I think overall they proved on a track, I would say we, didn't think overtaking was going to be easy, but they actually made it look very simple. Yeah, well, then you've got a car advantage as they had. I suppose that's the way it works. Quick look at the lap layout. As we saw, it's tight and twisty in the early sections, fast on the latter sections. Absolutely. Well, the first section is sort of all those looping corners there, sector 1. Very difficult. Drops down to that sort of hairpin and then climbs up again through the left-hander, and it's so long, that left-hander. We did a couple of laps yesterday, and it's very, very hard on the right-hand tyre. Getting into sector 2, still the high speed, lefts all the time, and it's just very, very hard on the tyres, but it's quite a difficult track to get the setup correct. It is, so drivers have been working on that all weekend. We're near Chemnitz, close to the Polish border here at the Sachsenring, an area that's been famous for motorsport going right back to the 1920s. The original 8-kilometre road course here was a bit more like the sort of old Nürburgring, but this circuit has been here since the mid-90s, used extensively for motorbikes, and now seeing GT1 World Championship here for the first time. Now, as we come along with our unique way of showing the grid on the Segway, the camera coming up towards up the hill towards the back of the field here, and we're going to see that there are some quick cars at the back here. On the right, Jan Claret and Antoine Leclerc. Jan Claret was third in the warm-up this morning. On the left, Bas Leinders will be starting the other Belgian racing Ford, and that car has got a lot of potential. On the right there, Vanina X, she gets to start the yellow Belgian racing Ford that's on that right-hand side, and then as we move slightly further forward, we've got the Corvette. Particularly keep an eye on that Corvette, because that is going to be a fast car. Here we are with another view of the car at the back of the field, though. Antoine Leclerc, who was driving this car yesterday, well, he picked up a 5-place penalty for causing that collision at the first corner. There he is. Yeah, absolutely. So again, he's made it a bit difficult for himself, but he actually, in the warm-up this morning, he didn't have a bad one. Well, let's get down to the grid now. Bas Leinders is starting alongside him, and Haley is talking to him.
Baz, you've got a fantastically quick car here at the Sachsenring. What do you think you can achieve in this race?
Well, unfortunately, we have to start from last position, so it's going to be quite difficult, but hopefully, yeah, we can manage a top 5 finish. That would be nice, yes.
Thank you.
Well, he's got a lot of work to do, but it is possible, and Bas Leinders will be hoping to move up from that place way down towards the back. 16th place he starts from on the grid. There is the Corvette. We saw a brief glimpse of it. There is Vanina X's car. Johnny, she didn't get to have a play yesterday because the car was out on the first lap. No, exactly. So it was unfortunate. So now it's going to be a sort of a first time. She had a little bit of go in the warm-up, so now it's a chance for her to do a good job. Now, the Corvette, as I say, is one to watch. Nicky had a spin in it yesterday. Let's hear what he had to say a moment ago.
Nicky, you've delivered some great times in the Corvette. It must be frustrating starting from the back of the grid again. What can we expect from you in the championship race?
Well, definitely a better job than yesterday. I think we have one of the fastest cars here, so we should be able to go to the front.
Thank you.
It'll be Mike Hazeman starting that car this time, Johnny. So the experience of Mike perhaps coming to the fore. You just see him, he's in the background slightly there. Peter Cox on the right. There's Mike having a bit of a laugh before he gets in the car. And, I mean, his experience of driving Corvettes, he's been driving them, it seems like, since he was a lad. So if anyone's going to make it fast, he is. Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's on a track that we have seen, although we haven't seen it properly, that the Corvette is obviously very suited to here. So Mike has a good chance. A bit further down, but as we said, it's possible to overtake. Well, let's take a look at the car itself. It is a front-engine car, but the engine sits so far back under that front bonnet that the weight distribution's really brilliant. 650 horsepower. The Corvette Z06 has had a huge amount of success over the years in GT racing, and it's a good team, this. Mike Hasemans, the experienced campaigner, with Nicky Katzberg, the youngster, who's got a lot of pace, but he did make that mistake, and you could get that feeling from him on the interview that he wants to put that behind him and come up with a good result today. A little further up the grid, we've got the Aston Martins, the Nissans, and then right up towards the front end of the grid. The Aston Martin on the left, being driven by Stef Dusseldorp at the start, and of course the Ford that won yesterday, that'll be driven by Max Martin. He starts the race today, swapping over around the half-distance mark when the pit window opens at between 25 and 35 minutes into this 1-hour race. The only race in Germany this year, of course. Last year we were at the Nürburgring, but it's good to come to a new track, and I think many of the GT1 drivers enjoying the opportunity to learn yet another circuit.
Yeah, I think they are, and I think they found it quite difficult because the undulations are so big here that they found it quite difficult to point the car in the right direction over some of these brows, especially on the faster part of the circuit. So it's good because it's challenging.
We had some rain this morning. We had another GT race earlier on today, the ADAC race, and the rain fell just as the cars were in this position, lining up on the grid, so there was a delay. Right now, we've got a breeze blowing across the circuit, bit of cloud around, but it looks for the moment as though it's going to stay dry. This is a look at another of the front-running cars, of course, the Lamborghini. This is the number 5 car of Carl Wendlinger and Peter Cox. It's a V12 engined machine, and that sits in behind the driver. It's a mid-engined car. Wendlinger, of course, former champion in FIA GT, teamed up with Peter Cox, who's done more racing laps in Lamborghinis than virtually anybody else in the world, I should think. Their teammates are the less experienced Max Nielsen and Jiri Janak. So that's the Swiss racing team looking after those cars, but the Nissan here of JR Motorsports, running 2 very competitive cars, of course. So you're looking there at the Michael Krum Lucas Luhr machine, but they really struggled in the latter part of the race with tyre pressures, in fact, which really meant that they had no grip towards the end of the race. Lucas Luhr was struggling. Well, he starts the race this time. I'm sure they'll have made a few little tweaks to the setup to try and make life a little easier. There's the Aston Martin of Alex Muller and Thomas Enger. Thomas will be anxious to get out there. He got up to 10th place at the end of yesterday's race, so he did make some moves.
Sure, he did, and with Thomas starting, cracking little driver. He's got a wealth of experience in the Aston Martin, so hopefully he can get a good result for them, and they've got a chance here.
Marcus Winkelhock and Mark Basseng still lead the championship after the qualifying race yesterday, but I tell you what, their lead is under a bit of threat now. They have an advantage of 15 points over Piccioni and Dusseldorp, but remember, Piccioni and Dusseldorp are up at the front of the grid while they're further back down. There's David Brabham, really getting used to the Nissan now, as he's in his first season, of course, of GT1, sharing the car with Jamie Campbell-Walter. And the other Al Inkel Lamborghini here that led the race yesterday had a horrible pit stop and unfortunately lost a lot of ground as a result.
Well, it was a lot of ground, wasn't it? They dropped down about eight places or so. So hopefully that's not going to happen to them, because if you have that problem again, there's a lot of points at stake this time.
Yes, that's right. So there is Richard Westbrook. He starts his Nissan this time that he shares with Peter Dunbrack. All of them looking very focused now. The first corner can lead to trouble here. In fact, there was just that little bit of bumping and boring between some of the Fords, as we saw yesterday. But the top end of the grid yesterday got through the corners pretty comfortably. Taking a look at the number 20 Nissan. This is the highest place on the grid. Hello to Warren Hughes. He gives us a little wave. Lovely to see him back in the championship, and he drove a superb race yesterday.
Absolutely. Again, he hasn't been in the car like the other guys and the other crews, and he's settled in very, very well. So hopefully he can have another good race.
Stefan Mucker starts this Aston Martin, which starts in the second row. The other one here of Stef Dusseldorp, though, starting on the front row. And this is a great opportunity for Dusseldorp and Piccioni, who won in Abu Dhabi at the start of the year, led the series clearly after that, but dropped back a little bit. Now they found themselves back in second place in the points and a chance perhaps even to take the championship lead here today. Meanwhile, this is the Ford that everybody's going to try and beat, and which was so rapid.
And he had a very comfortable margin yesterday. Like you said, Ben, some of the teams, I'm sure, have had a little bit of fettling with the cars, but I think they need to do quite a bit of fettling to catch that Ford GT.
There's a little bit of the dark cloud we were talking about, top right of screen, but it doesn't look as though it's going to be starting to rain for the moment, but we'll try and keep an eye on that. Our commentary position just over to the left. There you are. We'll give you a little wave. We can virtually see you there. Also, we're on the outside of the grid. That gives us a little opportunity to spot the rain coming in from that side of the circuit. Cars are firing up now, whether it's V8 or V12, front-engined or mid-engined, ready to go off on the formation lap in the battle of the brands. Just to let you know that the 3 different brands have taken victory so far in the championship. We had Aston Martin taking a win, Lamborghini have had a win, and Nissan. Ford haven't won a championship race, but they have now won 2 qualifying races. Temperature at the moment definitely cooler than it was yesterday, and I wonder if that will help anybody more than anyone else. We'll have to wait and see. Cars away on the formation lap, and yep, looking out of my window I can see that the last place car has just moved off from its grid position. So let's take a look at how the grid lines up then. It is Maxime Martin and Fred Makowicki's car on pole position. Steph Dusseldorp starts the Aston alongside, then Stefan Mucker in the Aston Martin, and Warren Hughes in the top Nissan on the grid. Christian Hohenadel in the second Hexis Aston Martin has Richard Westbrook next door. Then it's Dominic Schwager in the Lamborghini, and David Brabham next up in the Nissan. Following that, it's Marcus Winkelhock and Thomas Enger. Lucas Law in a Nissan, and he's got Carl Findlinger next door in the Lamborghini. Max Nielsen is in another Lamborghini. There is Mike Hazelmans in the fast Corvette. Towards the back then, we've got Vanina Ix and Bas Linders, and right at the very back, it is Jan Clare starting in the number 10 Ford. Watch out for him because he's potentially quick, fast in the warm-up this morning, and could also be fighting his way through. So as the cars continue their way around the formation lap, another quick point to make. The Corvette, which is fast, but as we say, starting towards the back, yet to win a championship race in GT1. They've had some good results, but yet to win a championship race. There it is, the bright red car. We will be keeping an eye on that as we go through. The question is, though, will anyone stay on terms with the Ford? And if the Ford gets away, as we saw it was able to do yesterday, well, they may be just romping away to victory. The Mark VDS team will be hoping that, of course. Everyone else will be hoping to stop them. And I suppose, Johnny, if the Aston Martin of Steph Dusseldorp can get in front at the start, that could well change the complexion of this race.
Oh, absolutely, because you know, you can sometimes utilise that position of, we know the Ford is very, very quick, but you can utilise it of trying to keep it behind you, and then that sort of ruins their rhythm, because they've got a sort of probably a faster rhythm. So yes, the key will be the start for the Aston Martin, but again, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get that advantage that they need to get in front.
The safety car peels off. We are ready for the championship race here at Sachsenring to get underway. Lights go to green and away we go. And Max Martin and Steph Dusseldorp battling for the lead into the first corner. Stefan Mucker trying to come down the inside of the Aston Martin. They're almost going to be through, but Stefan Mucker locks the wheel, gets away with it. Very, very wide to the outside goes David Brabham. Oh, we've got a car off. That's the other Hexis Aston Martin, I think, that's gone off of Christian Hohenadel. Oh, and the Lamborghini gets a bash, spins in the middle of the pack. We've got 2 Lamborghinis, the 2 teammates. Like we had yesterday, 4 teammates in trouble. Now we've got Lamborghini, and there was somebody else off as well.
There was a load of fluid. I think that's the fuel tank in the back.
My goodness, what a lot of damage on this opening lap. There's the car of Peter Cox and Carl Fendlinger. Carl Fendlinger in it at the moment, tied up with their teammates. Oh, what a horrible start for the Lamborghini team. There's the other car, the number 6 car of Max Hills. Oh, and it's Thomas Enger. I thought I saw in a white Aston Martin in the gravel. It is Thomas Enger. Another miserable, miserable weekend for those guys. Carl Fendlinger's pulled off in the grass. We will surely see a safety car. Yep, the safety car boards are out. The safety car will once again pick up the field, but Johnny, the first few corners were always going to be difficult, and once again it has gone wrong.
Yeah, it has. I think the first corner we saw a couple of people just run wide. I don't think there was any contact at all, but it just looked as if Thomas and the Lamborghini seemed to touch, and we can see that obviously Thomas has got a puncture, but then it just caused a sort of mayhem, unfortunately, with 2 teammates in the Lamborghini.
And look who's leading. Where is the Ford? That's another Ford, but Stefan Mucker is leading. That's Vanina X's car in trouble. But Stefan Mucker is leading, and it isn't Hohenadel, it's Hohenadel in second. It was Piccioni who got in trouble through the gravel. So, Steph Dusseldorp. Steph Dusseldorp went off into the gravel at the first corner. Now, I thought it was the other Hexis Aston Martin, but it wasn't. So just to confirm, that Hexis in second place, the Hexis Aston Martin car, is that of Christian Hohenadel. Third place is Dominic Schwager's Lamborghini. And look, there's a bit of discussion going on here. It was all a bit of a mess. We don't know exactly what happened, and there's Thomas Enger having a bit of a look at Carl Findlinger's car. They're commiserating with one another. There's Vanina X into the pits, and this is horrible to see so much damage on the opening lap of the race. Let's take a look at some replays now, Johnny, and try and work out what was going on here. Now, the Aston on the far right ends up in the gravel for some reason.
I think they all just closed together there, so I think
the Ford and the Aston might have hit each other, actually.
And then these two, there's just a bit of
there's the Aston's off to the left already.
Way there it is.
Yeah.
But it's a bit later here. We can sort of see the black Lamborghini. I think we're coming shot. This is the first corner. So
that was Westbrook going wide, I think, in the Nissan.
Oh, they did actually make contact. So the GT40C is nearly on the grass, so he just ran wide. Again, it's cooler conditions, so the tyres are reacting in a very different way than yesterday.
And Mucker came through.
Yeah, there's a clash there. I think that may be Thomas.
But look at the background, because then the Lamborghini gets into trouble here. Now there is... Let's take a look at this, take a look. He's down the...
he just
little
drives
touch
in the side,
from Enger onto the Lamborghini of Wendlinger. And then the other Lamborghini... Oh, was it?
I think so.
Okay, so whichever way the two made contact. No, you
made
call
contact
it.
for sure.
You call it, absolutely. But Wendlinger and Enger made side-by-side contact. And then I think the Max Nielsen Lamborghini got involved as well.
Yeah.
Here we go, another view from on board the Lamborghini.
So that spins.
And then watch for the other Lamborghini arriving.
Bang.
Oh. Yep, there it is.
Unbelievable. That was a big old hit.
And it would be his teammate, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
And off in the background, you can see the Aston.
There we go, there's the spin. He tries to avoid, he hits the other. So that's
Vanina.
X, yeah,
Vanina X. That's where
and then she hits the
other Ford.
She hits the other Ford as well. So that's Bas Linders.
Yeah, Bas Linders' car also got hit. So, my goodness, what an extensive amount of damage there. Fred Makovicky in the background there, trying to work out where his Ford has got to. Piccioni seeing Steph Dusseldorp off into the gravel and losing out from that front row starting position. So it's been a massive change to the grid, because if there's the damage to Wendlinger's car.
With the Hexis again, he was on the third row,
and he's now second, isn't he? So the guy who started on the second row, Stefan Mucker, leads the race in the Aston Martin. Christian Hohenadel, who was on the third row, is now second, and Schwager, who was on the fourth row, is running third, ahead of the first of the Nissans, which is Warren Hughes. Then it's Winkelhock, then the Ford that was originally on pole of Martin. Now that car is still going, but it's down in sixth place. You can see the Ford. And then behind him is Lucas Luhr. Wets are being prepared, I see. I don't see that much rain falling yet. Well, there's just the odd spot around, so they are making sure they're ready in case wet tyres are required in this race. Well, it really has seen a turnaround, the opening lap of this race, seeing Mucker come through to take the lead for Aston Martin. Two Astons running up there, in fact 1 and 2 for the young driver team and for the Hexis team, and then the first of the Lamborghinis of Schwager and Pastorelli. And we've lost Nielsen and Janak, we've lost Wendlinger and Cox, and Enger and Muller, of course.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a shame. On TV you don't quite see how tight that first corner is. It's sort of the first part is pretty tight, and then it really does sort of come back on you to bite you. And of course, with colder tyres, you're trying to get as much warmth as you can in at the start. And then you just saw the GT40 there, the pole sitting car, just ran that bit wide because he didn't have the grip. And unfortunately, on the outside was the Aston Martin trying to go around the outside, and there, of course, everything else then set everything off in a calamitous way, unfortunately.
I suppose the Aston on the end, he was really trying to get the start. We talked about it before the beginning. The only way I suppose they felt they were going to beat that Ford was to get in front of it. So he went around the outside. But as you say, the Ford then on cold tyres, just sort of sliding out wide. You're riding on board here with Richard Westbrook, who lost out at that start. He ran out wide as a result of what was going on in front of him.
You can see spots on the screen there, actually.
Yeah, you can.
There's a lot of spots.
So he's gone down to 12th place now. So having started, where did he start? He started in 6th, so he's lost 6 places. And we've definitely got a bit of rain on our commentary box window. Now, is this going to be enough to affect any of the cars as yet? Lights are still on the safety car. Let's wait to see whether they switch those lights off.
We've got Vanina X in the pits as well.
She's been in there a little while, I think, hasn't
she? Still, they're trying to fix a bit of damage. I'm not sure what they're doing. That looks like a rear wing or something, but there's a bit of damage on her car, unfortunately.
Mucker leads Hohenadel and Schwager. Then Warren Hughes running 4th, Winkelhock in 5th place. So it's Aston Martins 1 and 2, Lamborghini 3, Nissan 4, Lamborghini 5, Ford in 6th, the car that won yesterday. 7th for Nissan and Lucas Law, 8th another Nissan, that's David Brabham. 9th place for Jan Claret, who's come up well. He managed to miss this time all the drama. Well, I say this time, it's actually his teammate Leclerc who got in trouble yesterday. But Claret's got up to 9th, having started from the back. So he'll be another one to watch in the early laps here, because his Belgian Racing Ford will be fast, there's no doubt about it. A bit of investigation going on about those incidents, clearly. And we'll wait to tell you if there are any decisions from the race director or from the stewards, if we get informed. But obviously, opening laps of this race still being run under safety car. Umbrellas going up around the track, though, so clearly conditions are worsening. Our commentary box window showing just the odd spot or two at the moment, but nothing too serious. Oh, there you are. There's a little bit of a glimpse that the rain might become a problem.
It's a bit more serious than we thought. But it's going to make it hard for these guys, because they're on their slick tyres at the moment. You can see they're weaving around, trying to get as much temperature. It's the only way you can get temperature in the tyre when you're following a pace car like that. So they're trying to get the temperature in. The rain's not helping. It's making the temperature of the track go down. And of course, if that rain keeps on coming or gets more, then they're going to have to decide when they actually pit for the wet tyres.
Clivia Piccioni somewhat upset, obviously, seeing his car drop down to 13th. It is still out there, Steph. Dusseldorf is still in that queue, but he's down now in 13th place, so from a front row starting position. And you know what? They had a big chance of taking the championship lead here today, Johnny. And now they find themselves at the back of the queue, and of course the championship leaders are up there in 5th. They've actually come out of that first lap quite well.
Sure, absolutely. This is the way it goes. You need a little bit of luck to go your way, but there's still a long way to go. They're losing time. Obviously, we've got 10 minutes gone, and actually no racing has happened, so it's going to make their race that little bit shorter and that little bit more difficult.
Darren Turner, he'll take over from Stefan Mucker later in this race, but a long way to go, especially with the conditions changing. Now, we're being informed the safety car is coming in at the end of the lap. Lights are out, and it'll be Stefan Mucker who will basically dictate the restart here from Christian Hohenadel in the Hexis Aston Martins, the 2 Astons, versus Dominic Schwager in that fast Lamborghini that led yesterday, remember, before the pit stops. Warren Hughes in there. I'm sure he'll be quite happy the safety car's been out, because the Nissan was working its tyres quite hard. A little bit of respite won't do them any harm at all. And then Winkelhock behind him. Then watch out for Max Martin. Here we go. The restart then as we climb up the hill. It's Stefan Mucker who leads the field across the line as we go racing once again at the Saxon Ring. Hohenadel quite a long way back in second, and a little bit of a lock-up into the first corner.
Yeah, that was a good start by Stefan. Had a nice advantage going into turn 1.
And Mike Haseman's got 1 place there. He got past Bas Linders, so that's a place gain for the Corvette. The red Corvette up to 10th as they head down the hill into the long looping. Oh, and there was somebody there, got into a bit of a slide. Did they get away? I think they did get away with it. But up front, Stefan Mucker's got Christian Hohenadel breathing down his neck. Wonderful, really close stuff between the 2 Aston Martins, and Stefan Mucker might be the more experienced driver of the pairing, but the reigning GT3 champion is not dropping anything. It's the Lamborghini who's struggling a little bit to get up to speed. As we know, the Lambo takes a lap or 2 to get those front tyres working.
It certainly does. And of course, the drivers see those spots of rain on their screen, so you can see the windscreen wiper is going, the only one who's using his windscreen wiper, and you've got to have a feeling. It really does come through your backside and your hands of what the car is actually doing at this time on a cool track.
Here comes Haseman, he's trying to get another one, and he's up through the inside, turn 12. That was a good move.
Very good move.
And he's got past Jan Claret. Claret's trying to come back. Meanwhile, they're making a move up the inside. There is Bas Linders on the other Belgian Ford, and Bas Linders takes the place from Jan Claret. Claret will probably tuck in behind him as they go over the line. It's Stefan Mucker leading from Christian Hohenadel. Then Dominic Schwager in the Lamborghini. The Corvette definitely beginning its charge large, chased by the Fords, which we know are so fast. But look at Steph Dusseldorp there in car number 3, down at the back of the pack, also with Richard Westbrook at the back. They can't make much progress because they're now behind some of the fastest cars out there. Mucke leads, Hohenadel in second, and Dominic Schweger in third. Then the rest of the queue with that Corvette definitely looking strong here. Johnny, where's the next place we can expect an attack from this car?
Well, I think as we saw yesterday, I think it could be anywhere because the car is very good on the technical slow sector 1, but it's also very good with the balance on the faster speed. So he just needs to get as close as he can at any point to be able to slip past. He's got cars backing in front, and that's always a good thing because they're trying to do their own thing, and that can interrupt then and give you an opportunity.
The other thing is Mike Hasemans has been racing today already in the ADAC race when it was wet and then dry, so he's got good experience on the track today in another race. It always helps, just freshens you up, particularly when conditions are changing.
Definitely so, and you know, the rain seems to be sort of not getting any worse, probably getting a little bit better. So, but Mike, yes, has got a good car underneath him.
But the leaders are also very close, separated by under 0.3 of a second as they cross the lap. The end of lap 7, 47 minutes to go. Hohennadel's having a look down the inside, trying to challenge the other Aston Martin of Stefan Mucke. Oh no! Don't make contact! 2 Aston Martins! You've got to behave, surely! It's madness to get engaged in this sort of thing so early, isn't it?
Well, it is, but then they're not teammates. They're racing for different teams, so... So that was good. It was sort of a bit of rubbing, but clean enough.
Well, this is must be nerve-wracking indeed for both teams. They are individual teams, and it's good to see. But you've got to think, my goodness, it's so early in the race to start bashing wheels like that in these GT1 cars. And just look at the reactions down there in the pits as somebody kicking up the dust. Be careful getting a wheel offline today because the grass is still wet from that earlier rain, and we've had a bit more dampness, so you ain't going to get away with it so easily in this race. The Lamborghini's front tyres are beginning to work. Look at it, now beginning to catch the gap.
Well, the good thing for him is obviously those 2 Aston Martins are fighting. We saw the contact, they're sort of rubbing each other, so they're slowing each other up, which is enabling to catch up when his tyres are actually getting better. So it could work into his favour as we get inboard again. These 2 Aston Martins trying to kiss each other at the moment.
Well, there's certainly...
And there you go. There's an opportunity now.
Yeah, the Lamborghini's going to have a go.
We know he's good down the straight, outside.
Yeah, he's having a little look down the outside. Meanwhile, Hohenadel right up the inside, but Stefan Mucke as defensive as possible. Where are they going to go next?
So they're all bunching. This is that slower section 1, and this hairpin, the right-hander here, there is sometimes an opportunity up the inside, but these guys are actually blocking that inside, so no one can get up the inside.
Back on board with her. Oh, puncture on the 41 car that won yesterday. Oh. That's the Maxime Martin, Fred Makovicky car. It's not going to do the double this weekend, and bitterly disappointing for those guys, but the Astons are still racing hard here as Stefan Mucke leads from Christian Hohenadel, who's driving a beautiful race so far in the Hex's Aston Martin, the 34-year-old GT3 champion from last year. Here you are riding on board with him. Raced in the Callaway Corvette last year, but now he's switched his attentions to this GT1 Aston and he's driving well. But into the pits comes Maxime Martin.
Unfortunate. I think that possibly happened a bit earlier on because I think there was a bit of contact on that first start, and I think it maybe just damaged a little bit, probably that tyre, I'm guessing.
So off comes the punctured tyre, on goes a new one, and Christian Hohenadel keeps up the pressure on Stefan Mucke. You know, Christian started racing back in the late 90s in Formula Ford in Germany. He raced Tintop's Alpha 147s, he raced the German Seat Leon Supercopa Series. He knows these German tracks, and he's having a look. Oh, he's done it this time!
Great move.
Really good
stuff. Is he going to stay on, yeah?
Did he?
In that Lambo, oh, not quite. Not quite.
And it's Hohenadel in front in the Hex's Aston Martin. He muscles his way past Stefan Mucke.
That was
with
a brave
clean pass. And the third place Lamborghini joining in now. And Mucke hasn't got the pace at the moment, has he?
Not at the moment, but as we know, that was a great late down the inside. We'd seen him looking before, so that was very, very brave. Bit of rubbing, but I think that was all fine. That was a great, he held on to that very well for that exit at turn 1.
So Christian Hohenadel making a name for himself in GT1. There's the onboard view.
Yeah, knew he was coming, tried to sort of keep the pressure on him, but he was already committed to go past.
And there's the glum face of Fred Makovicky. They've suffered a puncture. Really, their race is more or less over in many ways in terms of getting a decent result. And after victory yesterday, it's a very different story here today. On board the second-placed Aston now of Stefan Mucker. You see Hohen Ardel, look at him escape. He's pulling away at a rapid rate here.
Big time. And again, hopefully he's going to give now that Lamborghini there in third position a chance to get itself past. Needs to get past the Aston Martin in front. So he just needs to apply the pressure, and hopefully that pressure will come. So we'll see if he's going to try the inside as well.
Here he comes, here he comes. Down the inside goes Schwager, and the Lamborghini's in a second. Mucker really struggling on the brakes up at that area.
Well, again, it does seem to be, and again, that was very good on that Lamborghini there, because he'd actually seen what had happened the lap before and thought, right, I'm going to have a go as well, and did it cleaner.
From Mucker's point of view now, though, he's in 4th place, and the car next in line is the Nissan of Warren Hughes, which is not lapping probably quite as quickly. And it looks as though it could all be over for this car, the 41 car. I don't know if they're going to even be able to get back out. So Hohen Ardel leads from now in 2nd place. Dominik Schwager in the Lamborghini. 3rd place for Stefan Mucker, having led the early stages. Warren Hughes is in 4th place in the Nissan. Championship leader Marcus Winkelhock is in 5th, chased by Lucas Law, who's got a whole queue of cars. Take another look at that pass. Very clean from Schwager.
Yeah, very clean and very easy. It was surprising that that number 8 Aston Martin that seems to be his weak point of the track.
Yeah, so I talked to Darren Turner earlier on today. They knew that the Hexus car was strong. They wondered about making a few more changes to their car. But, of course, it's always a risk to make many changes to your car going into a big race like this one, and I think they probably stuck with what they had. Now, the Corvette has got up to 8th place now, as we know, chased by the Fords, but so far he's not got past David Brabham in the Nissan, so that's what he's trying to do. David Brabham in the white and black Sumo Power Nissan, who's chasing after the other car of Lucas Law. So the Corvette's got stuck at the moment.
Yeah, he has, and at the moment, a real good inboard shot there. We've got the two Nissans in front, and he's just have to see if he's sort of quick in the right places. Yesterday, those Nissans were struggling in that sector 1, and that sort of really got bad for him in the latter part. But he needs to, Mike needs to get in front of those as quickly as he can.
Yeah, Brabham had a car that he was very happy with at the end of the race, unlike the other Nissan drivers. So the car had sort of looked after its tyres better, and he does seem to be staying ahead of this Corvette. The Corvette doesn't seem to be right all over the back of him.
Not at all, no, not at all. At any point. It just seems to have that little gap we see now on the inboard of Mike Hazelman's now. Never seems to really close it down to a close proximity.
So whether Nissan have found something for today and they've made some changes that have improved the car, or maybe it's the cooler temperatures, whatever, hard to tell. But they're certainly running well at the moment. Now, let's get some reaction from our winners yesterday. It's all gone wrong for them today. Max Martins talking to Haley.
Maxime, unfortunately, Ford GT is now out of the race. Can you explain what happened at the start of the race?
I took a normal start. We brake quite late at the end. And then I think it's Stefan Mucker who pushed me at the back. So I pushed Aston, Hexus Aston. And now we have a problem at the rear back from this crash, so it's finished.
Thank you.
Now, that's interesting. I hadn't seen that before, but yes, Mucker actually touched the back of the Ford, didn't he, as the other Aston was coming in. So that car there, Stefan Mucker, actually touched the back of the Ford, which sort of helped the whole thing. I mean, it was already developing, but that certainly made things a little bit more difficult to cope with. Meanwhile, look at this. You've got Warren Hughes under pressure here from Marcus Winkelhock. That is for 4th position. Sumo Power Nissan versus the Al Inkel Lamborghini, and that Lamborghini's come alive now.
It has, and the Lamborghini there, Marcus, very knows this circuit very, very well. Got a good car under him. The understeer that normally suffers in the first early parts of the race will be gone. Now he's just got to put the pressure on, and hopefully Warren can fight him off.
You wonder if Stefan Mucker's car's got any damage from that earlier bump. Is that why perhaps Mucker hasn't been able to retain the lead and is now holding 3rd? There's Marc Basseng, Winkelhock's teammate, of course, joint championship leader with Winkelhock at the moment. And now we're back with his teammate. Not close enough to have a go into turn 1.
No, not yet, no. And this is the slow section. This is where this is very tight, and it goes very tight there. So you can see it just turn all the time. Going downhill, a little bit of a left, quite hard on the tyres, and then we get this right hairpin that then starts to climb up on the exit and then leads onto the faster part of the circuit.
Oh, it's a bit of Germany there, a nice bit of bratwurst for lunch, lovely. That's what you want. And actually, I'll tell you what, when we walk up to the commentary box, the smell of the bratwurst is wonderful. Actually, it's making me quite hungry coming in today. All right, back to the action here, and coming along, Hughes is still under a bit of pressure from Winkelhock. They're behind Lucas Luhr. You know, this was the situation yesterday. David Brabham got himself stuck behind Lucas Luhr when Luhr's car wasn't working terribly well, and David's was. But seems to be similar pace at the moment, but it does look as though Brabham perhaps has got a bit more speed in him if he could get past.
No, I think definitely so, but again, he's trying to get past, and of course you're in the same car, you're doing the same speeds effectively. But like you said, David was happy with the balance of the car, but it's still been able to put that to use to pass.
Don't forget, look at the little move up the inside from Bas Linders, didn't actually come to anything.
It's all packing up, isn't it, behind?
It is, getting close. Don't forget you can follow live timing and scoring on the website, gt1world.com, and there's a lot of unique features and content there, TV content at GT1 TV as well. You've been doing some fun things for that, I know, Johnny, this weekend, so good opportunity to catch up with the behind-the-scenes action. But on the track at the moment, it's also looking quite fast and furious. You're on board with Jan Claret here. He's running in 10th place. He's behind the other Ford there of Bas Linders. And you do feel that something might start to happen here, and he's got to be a bit wary because, of course, the Fords all managed to take each other off yesterday, and they don't want to do that again today. Bas Linders getting close to the back of the Corvette here.
Yeah, well, that's good. He got it nice. You can see the grip that car's got, the traction it's got is very, very good, and now he's in a good position. It's difficult to overtake at this part of the circuit because of all these fast corners, but he just needs to keep himself close enough and keep that pressure there, and if an opportunity comes, he's there to take it.
We're under 2 minutes away from the pit window opening, and I tell you what, if they're all this close, the pit lane is going to be mighty busy because there's not a lot of space down there.
No, there's not. There's going to be less of it when they all bundle in together.
Yeah, Lucas Luhr sliding that Nissan, and a big slide from Bas Linders, put a wheel over the curb, but he gathers it up nicely here. They all know the pit window's approaching, and that's when they need to be right on terms with the car ahead, or even, if possible, get past it. Remind you that Hohenadel leads for Aston Martin. It's the Lamborghini of Schwager in second place, Mucker in third, fourth for Hughes, fifth for Winkelhock, sixth for Lucas Luhr, then David Brabham on board with Jan Claret. Down into the tight section, a bit of oversteer, and we've seen these Fords, they are fast, but I tell you what, when the back end goes, it goes very quickly, and several guys and girls, in fact, have spun these cars this weekend. Vanina Hicks had a spin yesterday, I think that was in qualifying or practice. When they do break away, they break away very fast.
Well, there was all three Fords in that practice, weren't there, that was spinning out, yeah.
That's right.
There's Bass again, he's very quick out of there, but it's just the opportunity is not really open to him to slip up the inside of Mike Hausermann's in that Corvette.
Just to confirm that actually the Vanina Hicks never made it back out again after that earlier incident, so she's had a horrible weekend. She's not really done any laps at all in the races. This is her teammate's car, of course. Jan Claret still running behind Bas Linders' Ford. Behind those two is still Richard Westbrook and Stef Dusseldorp. Dusseldorp, who got bundled out into the gravel at that first corner, which, as we've seen on reflection and on hearing the interview, we've learned that Stefan Mucker, the other Aston Martin, had a bit of involvement in as well. And that incident is actually, I think, no, that one's not under investigation. It's a different incident. It's the incident between the Lamborghini of Findlinger and the Aston of Thomas Enger that's actually currently under investigation. But as both cars are out, it doesn't really going to make a lot of difference in this race, only perhaps in the next race at Silverstone. So the pit window has now opened, and who's going to be in first? I would imagine that Hohenadel in his Aston, who leads this race by 3.3 seconds, might well make a fairly early pit stop.
Yeah, well, again, because they're fairly close at the moment, you've got to be careful with traffic. It all depends who stays out late, because that could ruin his race as well. So it's going to be quite a tactical thing. We seem to have a lot of teams out and drivers ready. With all this pack what we're seeing now from the number 10 here, it'll be interesting to see who does pit. They could all come in together. The guy further back might think, well, if we start a little bit longer, that will give me an opportunity to speed up a little bit. Bas Linders, for example, might want to do that. So it'll be interesting to see how they choose to pit.
David Brabham again crawling all over the back of Lucas Luhr and the Nissan. There is the number 37 Lamborghini currently in second place. Is he coming in? Yes, he is. And what about the race lead? I think the race leader's in as well. Yeah, there's Christian Hohenadel, who will come all the way down to the far end of the pit lane. That's where the Hexis team are based. Now, we know how fast this team is on pit stops. The team finished second in the team's championship last year, and they are one of the most efficient. The others, quite a few cars are staying out there. Schwager comes in, Mucker comes in to hand over to Darren Turner. Next is Hart. Oh, there's a bit of a delay there.
No, that wasn't so good.
That's not their usual slick style there. They made a little mistake, clashing wheels.
And it's interesting because yesterday we saw some cars stay out longer, and they actually made a lot of time for that. So this is where it's going to be good. Oh, not so good.
Away goes
Still
Andrea
out.
Pacini. Pacini will be in front still at the young driver car. And that gets going. Darren Turner, where's the Lamborghini? The Lamborghini gets out in front.
Just in front.
Of the Aston. So no change in respective positions, but that was ever so tight coming out.
It was, yes. Very, very tight. But it was clean. He was, he went out in the right time. He didn't make contact or anything. So, no, it was fair.
One of the Nissans has been in there. That's Hughes has handed over to Bernoldi. And another of that's the JR Motorsport car. I think that's, Michael Krum now back out instead of Lucas Law. And the one remaining Mark VDS car, Mark Enrici at the wheel of the number 40 car, is now back out on circuit. So that means that this car leads the race. It is Marcus Winkelhock in the number 38 Lamborghini. He stays out for another lap here, completing another lap before handing over to teammate Mark Basseng. Behind him, you've got David Brabham, who has stayed out. That's interesting because he felt, I think, he was getting a bit held up, so he has stayed out. The Corvette also has stayed out for the moment.
And Bas Linders came in because he was definitely being held up. So he did the smarter move. Now, hopefully, he can get some quick laps in and jump them when they do finally pit.
Yeah, I think that's going to work for Linders.
Should do.
Meanwhile, into the pits comes the other Hexis Aston Martin of Steph Dusseldorf, the one that ended up in the gravel trap at the first corner when they could perhaps have taken the championship lead here today. But they're well down the field, but perhaps they can gain something back on the pit stop. Here, that's what they need to do. One of their meteoric pit stops would be order of the day. There go their teammates who have had their pit stop and are comfortably in front of the others. And that was a good stop, I think. Where will it bring them out? It's going to bring them out behind the Aston of Turner. Darren Turner having a little look down the inside of Pastorelli. Pastorelli may be having that usual problem with the Lamborghini on the opening couple of laps, trying to get his front tyres up to temperature.
Absolutely, and Darren will be aware of that his opportunity is very early, but he's not quite got enough speed there to pass, which is enabling those front tyres on that Lamborghini to warm up and make it more difficult for him.
Be very interesting to see when everyone else has made their stops whether that other Hexis car with Piccioni now at the wheel, I think that was a good stop from them. They might have gained a few places. Now the race leader Winkelhock is now into the pits as well, so he's come in and just seeing if David Brabham has stayed out there. So this is the Al Inkel pit. Now, we heard from Mark Basseng yesterday that one of their wheel changers, one of their key guys, has been ill this weekend. So they've had to draft in a replacement, and that was part of the reason that their 37 car lost the lead yesterday, because there was a little bit of a foul up on the pit stop. Let's hope things go well for them this time. 38 car leads the championship, remember, in terms of the Drivers' Series, but it's the Hexis team that leads the team's championship. So we've just seen the car of Hohenadel and Piccioni go past us. There it is, the Aston Martin. Where's the Lamborghini going to come back out? It's going to be behind Turner, isn't it? And it might be behind Bernoldi. Let's just see as he comes out. Turner's gone past. Here comes the car of Bernoldi, the Nissan. They're going to be side by side as they go through the first corner. Oh, the Lamborghini getting squeezed out. Bernoldi just holds on to that place, but Basseng rejoins behind, and he's now got to try and get up to speed because Piccioni is right behind him. So there's no doubt that the other Hexis car made up ground on the pit stops, and he's now bearing down on the Lamborghini behind.
Yeah, I think they're side by side coming out of the turn 3.
Still there, not quite in front. The Lamborghini just has the edge, but remember that
because it's squirming around. This is the normal problem you were talking about, and it's oh, there we go, there we go.
Something broke on the car for the championship leader. The rear wheel.
Suspension or something.
Or is it
wheel, or maybe the wheel.
wheel?
No, the wheel looks a bit off.
Yeah.
I wonder if it wasn't on properly.
Okay, maybe it didn't. Maybe it didn't get bolted on properly, and the championship leaders are out here at Sachsenring on home turf. Mark Basseng, and that maybe the wheel change has
doesn't
gone
look the
wrong
right
again.
shape at all. No, it looks as if you just saw a little bit of a movement in the car,
and it's over for Basseng and Winkelhock, and suddenly this championship chase comes alive again. And they can't believe what's happened. They cannot believe it. Marcus Winkelhock walks away.
What a shame.
Take another look at this, Johnny.
Yeah, I did say, you see the car move, there's smoke coming out, so that sort of shows tyre. There's a little bit of the something. Oh, I don't know if it was a tyre piece actually come out of there. So I'm not quite sure what happened, but we saw blue smoke, which to me showing something. See the way the car's moving around there.
But the wheel hasn't come off.
It hasn't come off.
No, so whether it's suspension breakage.
There you go. Oh, there you go. Difficult to tell. I want to call.
Yeah, so whether it's a suspension breakage or a wheel problem, we'll find out later, I'm sure. I'm sure Haley will go.
Or a puncture. Could have been just a simple puncture.
Although it did look a funny angle, didn't it, that wheel? So we'll find out as soon as we can. But the big story is the championship leader's out. Marc Bassin can't believe it. He can't work out what's happened here. Just shrugs and walks just constantly off. Home turf, they were looking to maintain that championship lead. And I tell you what, things have changed a lot here because the Hexis car of Piccioni and Dusseldorf definitely made up some ground on the pit stops, but we haven't seen all of the cars into the pits yet, so we can't call it yet. This car is still the front runner of those that have stopped, so it looks as though they'll still be in front. Let's take another look at that Alincourt pit stop. There's Bassin just sitting this one out. Was there a problem on this wheel when they changed it? So taking the old one off, new one goes on, wheel nut on. Looks okay, doesn't it?
It looks clean enough from that point. Absolutely.
Looks as though the wheel got bolted on okay.
Yeah, spinning fine there.
And then suddenly, watch this. The rear of the car.
Yeah, so there's a puff.
Is that a wheel nut? Something flying off?
Could be. Yeah, you're right. That could be the wheel nut.
Could have been the wheel nut.
But then again, I'm surprised the wheel didn't actually come off.
Yeah.
But something broke on it for sure. You can see the wheel there is actually slightly further out, but that could be the suspension. But it's one of the two. It's something at the back. You saw something, well, we saw something come off for sure, bouncing through the gravel. Just unfortunate after a pit stop.
David Brabham comes in, so does Richard Westbrook. Brabham, though, coming in from the lead of the race before this because he was one of the last to stop. Richard Westbrook from further back. So, tyre change as David hands over to Jamie Campbell-Walter in that car. And Richard Westbrook, of course, handing over further down the pit lane to Peter Dumbreck. The two Nissan teams, JR Motorsport and Sumo Power, split on this occasion, so they're not pitting next to each other. So, how quickly can they get these two turned around? Get that car of Jamie Campbell-Walter back out. These are the last two of the front runners to stop.
So we've had the first three pass.
And away goes Jamie. And away goes Peter Dumbreck. Where are they going to come back out? It's worked quite well for them, you know. They're going to be coming out there with the Hexis Aston Martin just ahead. There is the Corvette. And Peter Dumbreck joins in just behind that Corvette, but ahead of the other Nissan there of Michael Krum. So the internal team rivalry then brings him out in front of his fellow JR Motorsport car. The Corvette hasn't made quite as much ground as I thought it might. I must admit, Katzberg, I think now still running in what will be 6th place after the timing and scoring readjusts itself after those last couple of pit stops has been made. But there's no doubt about the race leader. It is Andrea Piccini in the Aston Martin. The car shared with Christian Hohenadel, the Hexis Aston Martin, flying at the moment and putting in some very good laps indeed. 2nd place will be Nicky Pastorelli's Lamborghini, and in 3rd place currently it looks as though Darren Turner is holding on to 3rd in his Aston Martin. There we are. That is the 2nd and 3rd place battle. So it's Lamborghini versus Aston, and we saw Darren Turner put some pressure on him for a little while after the pit stop. And he's still not dropped far behind him, has he?
Not far behind, but he hasn't been close. They've been sort of lapping effectively the same lap time, so obviously on the same pace, but of course same pace you can't pass.
Nicky Katzberg's just set a fastest lap in the Corvette last time around, not this last lap, because he's now caught up to cars ahead of him, I think. Yeah, he's only just behind Jamie Campbell-Walter. There's Darren Turner here, holding on to 3rd place at the moment, behind the Aston Martin that leads the race of Andrea Piccini and Christian Hohenadel. Pastorelli in the Lamborghini in 2nd, Turner in 3rd place, 4th place the Nissan of Hughes. Look, Bassin still can't work this out. He's gone back to look at the car. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
No, he doesn't. Well, again, he's just distraught. He's shaking his head and can't believe why has it happened to me?
Yeah, what's going on? And, well, with their big championship rivals, Piccioni and Dusseldorf currently running in 5th place. They've got a chance of closing up the gap in the points, but also so do Mucke and Turner, because they're heading for a third-place finish, and that will really narrow the gap to the championship lead. So Andrea Piccini here, the Italian, who joined the Hexis team at the start of this season, became the first Italian to drive for this French team, actually, interestingly. But a very experienced GT driver, has raced for Maserati, has raced an Aston Martin in the past for the Phoenix team, has raced at Le Mans, has been racing FIA GT actually since 2003, so massive amount of experience for the Italian, 32 years old, and at the moment he's just lapping consistently in the 1:20. Meanwhile, the Corvette here of Nicky Katzberg, as you can see, is closed right up to Campbell Walter.
Yeah, he has, and he seems to be on a bit of a charge at the moment. Seems to have a good car under him. You saw before he did a very good fastest lap, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. And from that point of view, there we go. Nissan always struggles down the bottom. He seems to struggle to change direction. But at the moment, that Corvette's looking pretty good. He's made a little bit of ground after the pit stops, but not so much.
So over the rise they come. The Corvette still trying to come past. Let's go and get some reaction now to what happened to the Al Inkle car of Marc Basseng. Let's see if they've worked out what went wrong. Haley's down there.
Henry, can you update us on the issue with number 38?
I don't know. We saw the slow-mo of the pit stop, and the right rear, it looked all right. So I don't know, maybe it was just a puncture. We have to check when the car is back. No infos from Marc so far, so we will see.
Thank you.
So they're just as in the dark as we are, Johnny, on that one.
Absolutely. So we see something come off.
I think we did.
That's the only thing we do see exactly at the same time. So again, they can look at it when it gets back.
Meanwhile, the sun has come out. The Corvette is applying the pressure here to the car of Jamie Campbell-Walter. This is for 6th place. I have to say that ahead of them is the Hexis Aston Martin of Clivio Piccioni, and that one, I thought that second Hexis stop was fast, and it's been confirmed really. Now they're all settled down, because they went from being, I think they were about 12th or 13th, and the second Hexis car is now up in 5th place. A mega effort once again from them. Their other car leads the race, remember. Let's just watch this Corvette. You can see a lot of rubber being kicked off to the side of the road now, the ever-known marbles, as we call them, these big chunks of rubber. That's going to make overtaking even harder, isn't it?
Absolutely, and the drivers have mentioned that you just put the car half a wheel offline and you do pick up a lot of dirt, and it actually then loses grip, and then it's quite difficult, and sometimes you go off the track. So yes, you're right, it's going to make it that little bit more difficult, because that rubber is going to build up towards the end of the race, make it harder.
David Brabham and Warren Hughes, the two Sumo Power drivers, have done their bit, so it's up to their teammates now. Well, Bernoldi is holding on to 4th place from Piccioni, and meanwhile there is Jamie Campbell-Walter, David Brabham's teammate, only just about fending off that Corvette. And that, I'll tell you what, if he carries on like this for another 21 minutes, Jamie's going to really earn his money this afternoon, because the Corvette is fast, but there ahead is the other Sumo Power car that Warren Hughes was in, now being driven by Bernoldi, who's now got the task of keeping a very fast Aston Martin behind him.
Sure, and it looks as if they're actually behind. They're actually closing that gap, but we've gone a bit wide there.
In the background.
I don't know if they're going to have a chance, that Corvette, to pass. This is not where the Nissan has been very strong, so it is a possible opportunity. We'll have to see. So we'll see in the background.
Enrique Bernoldi, famous for being able to keep people behind him when he was in Formula One. There was a certain Monaco Grand Prix where Coulthard was unable to get past him.
Yep.
And so Enrique certainly is one who's happy in a defensive mode, but I tell you what, there's a long way to go in this race, and the Aston has been fast all weekend, so he's going to have his work cut out. Behind him, as I say, there's Jamie Campbell-Walter and the Corvette of Nicky Katzberg, and behind them, just to let you know, Peter Dumbreck's running in 8th place, by the way, in the Nissan. Michael Krummer's in 9th. Mark Enrici is currently in 10th place, followed by Antoine Leclerc, who's running 11th, and then, of course, basically we've got into the non-runners after that, because the latest one to stop out on track was Marc Basseng. Before that, we'd already lost Max Martin, we'd lost Vanina X. And that was the Aston, I think, of, it's the number 3 car, Piccioni. Piccioni has gone very wide. What happened to him? He's gone straight into the pits. Something's gone wrong for Piccioni, and there again more drama when it looks as though they may be challenging for the championship lead here today, and no one can quite work out what's going on. Christian Hohenadel in the background, and Stefan Rettel's in the right place to find out what's going on here for the Hexis team. And has he got a puncture?
He has, yes. He has, that right front.
Okay, so suddenly, puncture right front, and that took him straight off into the almost into the gravel at the last corner.
They always do. They do tend to not have quite as much grip as one with a bit of air inside.
What a corner to have it.
What a corner, what a time to have
I
it.
know. I mean, if it happened anywhere else around the track, he'd been limping round for ages.
Absolutely, yeah. So he's fortunate in one regard, but very unlucky on the other.
Well, he's come out into clear air. Unfortunately, what he needs now is a safety car.
There's a bit too much air in between him and the next car.
Let's take a look at this.
There you go, just runs wide. Must have happened just down that straight, I reckon, just before braking, or maybe even during braking, and luckily not to go as wide as he could have done. He could have gone much further into that gravel and then actually missed the actual pit lane and would have had to have done a full lap at a very slow speed. So fortunate and unlucky.
Yeah, and of course that was a second set of tyres. He would have put those on when he got in the car.
Yeah.
So difficult one to work out because early in the stint must have run across some debris. That's all you can imagine.
Well, we've had those incidents early on, and sometimes they sort of sit in there. They've got this carbon fibre, and it's sort of a very fine fibre. Obviously, after an incident, sometimes you can get a pick up. Sometimes you just get a puncture through possibly a flat spot, for example. So there's different causes sometimes.
So he's on his way again, but of course well down the field. So that takes the pressure off Bernoldi, because of course he was tucked in behind Bernoldi for a while, but it doesn't take any pressure off Campbell Walter, who's still got the red Corvette breathing down his neck. Just about managing it, though, at the moment, I have to say. Jamie Campbell-Walter, I definitely think the Nissans have found a bit of time overnight. Good work by that team, because this stage yesterday in the races, they were struggling a bit. There's still the risk that, as they say, the tyres will fall off the cliff, by which, what do they mean by that exactly?
Well, falling off the cliff is basically the car feels sort of okay, and then suddenly the tyre just completely and utterly disappears with grip. And then, like yesterday in the race, through that first sector, they were so poor and so slow. And like you rightly say, Ben, they look a lot better through the sector one, and especially turn 3, the hairpin.
OK, we're on board the Corvette. It's a lovely sounding V8, so we'll shut up for a second, Johnny, just let you listen to this motor.
So this is the start of the lap.
So lovely charge up the straight, really hear it giving its best up there, can't you?
In true American throaty style.
Muscle car. It is a muscle car, but it's been such a great car, the Corvette, for many, many years now in GT racing. But, as I say, it hasn't yet won a round at the GT1 World Championship, so we thought this weekend might be their chance. Unfortunately, that mishap yesterday for this young lad, Nicky Katzberg. It was just the section we've been through was where he spun, but still chasing down the Nissan ahead of Jamie Campbell-Walter, who actually over the last lap or so has just managed to open up the gap a fraction. And further back, Michael Crum's just set a good lap in a Nissan, a 1:20.6.
Yeah, and you can see that in-ball camera how long those left-hand corners are. They just seem to go on and on and on. And of course that gives that right-hand side of the car and the tyres a really, really hard time.
Andrea Piccini crosses the line, 30 laps completed. We've got just over a quarter of an hour remaining. 4.6 seconds ahead of Nicky Pastorelli. There he is in the Lamborghini, the Alan Cook car. Third place Darren Turner in his Aston Martin, in touch but not applying any pressure. Gap back to 4th place. There is the Nissan of Enrique Bernoldi. Another Nissan right behind of Jamie Campbell-Walter, then the Corvette, Nicky Katzberg in 6th. 7th place Peter Dunbreck. 8th Michael Krum. 9th therefore Mark Inarici in the Ford. Bit of a gap back to Antoine Leclerc then in 10th place. And then in 11th place, but after a pit stop for a puncture some way further down the order, is Clivio Piccioni, so he has plenty to do from back there. Leclerc just keeping his nose clean in the one remaining Belgian racing car, the tall Frenchman who got into trouble yesterday for colliding with another of the Fords. He's certainly staying out of trouble at the moment, running in a clear 10th place. Could be on for his first points actually in the championship, because points go down to 10th place, and he shouldn't have too much threat, I don't think, although of course Piccioni's back on track with some 25 seconds or more, I think, further behind him, so it would take a minor miracle. I suppose a safety car would close things up, but right now we've still got a little way to go. Corvette still not able to really get on terms with the Nissan. It's now a question of which car is going to look after its tyres to the best in these conditions that we've got this afternoon. Still a stiff breeze blowing. Mike Hazelman's, what do you reckon he's talking about here?
No idea.
No idea. Can't translate that at all.
No.
Good driver body language.
I don't understand Dutch.
Mystifying. Dutch driver body language.
Yes.
Across the line, then the Nissans of Ben Oldie and Jamie Campbell-Walter. There is Katzberg, still looking to gain a little bit more of an edge. Back on board with him.
Historically, Ben, of course, the Corvette has always been very, very good on its tyres. So from that perspective, we know the Nissan sometimes is quite hard on it. So you would expect the Corvette maybe in the latter part of the race. We've only got about 13 minutes or so to go. Maybe we can get close enough to be able to pass.
Yeah, patience is the name of the game.
Patience and pressure.
Yeah, that's where he got that move on Michael Krum done yesterday, but it was then a little lack of patience on the throttle pedal that sort of caught him out, wasn't it?
Absolutely. He may learn from that.
I'm sure.
I hope he learns from that.
I'm sure he will. Yeah, it's a young lad with a lot of talent, no doubt about it.
So you can see in board here these brows. This left-hander, turn 10, I think it is. It's quite difficult for the guy because it's very, very quick. And then that brow, over the brow, you cannot see the corner. So you just got to commit yourself over the top of that. So again, a great little circuit here at Sachsenring.
Top speed's about at 160 mile an hour mark here, so they don't, 250 kilometres per hour. So a couple of places where they're getting to that, but it's not a real high-speed circuit. And I think in some ways that's certainly been helping the Fords. They're fast around the corners, they're not so fast in a straight line. But unfortunately, the Fords have had various other problems, as we've seen. Maxime Martin, Fred Makovicky went out earlier on today as a result of what went on, really, at the first corner. And we always thought that was going to be a possibility. And back on board with the Corvette here. Again, it's about the direction change, about the nimbleness of the Corvette that's making it apply that pressure to the back of Jamie Campbell-Walter's car.
Absolutely. Seems to be getting a little bit closer, especially in that sort of first sector, which is where the slow speed is and you need that change of direction.
So Nicky Katzberg keeping the pressure on, but how would Mike Hasemans get past that Nissan if he was in it? Let's go and find out.
Mike, we've been watching Nicky out there. He's fighting hard, but how would you take the Nissan?
Yeah, it's difficult. We are in the slow part. We are much faster in the fast part. If you're too close behind, you don't. You have a lot of understeer. So yeah, I don't know. The only thing what I think is possible is in the slow part. Just if the Nissan gets too much understeer, like yesterday when he spun. So there is actually the only place for us to overtake the Nissan.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so that's the section we've been talking about, sort of turns 2 and 3, isn't it?
I think he's been listening in.
Yeah,
we've been listening to us, Ben.
Yeah, it's cribbing from us. So Jamie Campbell-Walter runs a wheel over the curb, but no problem. There, the two JR Motorsport cars behind, Peter Tan Breck and Michael Krum, as the Corvette gets that little bit closer. Johnny, you've got a fair bit of racing coming up yourself. Good to see you out in a GT-style car soon as well. What else are you up to?
Well, I do a series called Superstars, which is it used to be based in Italy, but now they've sort of spread their wings. And we do actually do a race in Donington this year, which would be great to get back to racing in the UK. Also doing the Spa 24 hours in an Audi R8, and also doing with Mark Blundell and a couple of other German drivers in a Golf. Very powerful, about 650 power, 650 horsepower Golf four-wheel drive at the famous Nordschleife.
Wow.
I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to it because I have no idea of the circuit. I'm playing a game at the moment trying to learn the circuit, and I'm still learning.
Great, well, good to hear you're going to be racing, Johnny, and we'll look forward to seeing how that goes. Back to the action here on track, though, and the two JR Motorsport Nissans have got a bit of a problem because bearing down on them there is Mark Henrici's Ford, and the Ford VDS car, they've had a bad weekend so far, but they are now beginning to find a bit more pace. You're riding on board currently with Michael Krum, who won last week out, of course, with Lucas Luhr at Portimao. But the Nissans, it hasn't been their style of circuit. They are, though, running consistently, and the good thing from the Nissan point of view, it might not be their best track, but they've actually got all 4 of their cars currently running in the top 10 in the points at the moment. So that's really good news. They're running 4th and 5th, 7th and 8th at the moment.
Well, that's nearly 50% in the top 10, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. So let's have a little listen in to the Nissan now. Let's compare the noise that the Godzilla, the GTR, makes. So it's again, it's a big rumbling V8, almost NASCAR-like in the sound that it
Similar,
makes.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, big beast, this Nissan. A lot of involvement from the Nissan engineers, a lot of Nismo people here involved with both the Sumo Power team and JR Motorsport. There's Lucas Luhr, teammate to Michael Krum. They're running in 8th place. As I say, it's not their ideal position, but they are on for scoring points, which will add to their maximum point score they got in the race, in the championship race at least last week. But Darren Turner and Stefan Mucker are also on target for some useful points here today. The gap, though, between 3rd and 4th, there you can see it. It's a big old gap between the Aston in 3rd, and then the Nissan there in 4th place, then another Nissan in 5th of Campbell Walter. There we are with the 7th and 8th place cars, and then behind that Ford of Mark Henrici. And you know, the Nissans are so much better on this section of track than they were yesterday, that this was where they were struggling so much. But this time, it's not easy for anyone else to get past them down there.
No, it's not. No, they're a lot better, you're right. And Jamie seems to be slowly closing in on Benaldi in front of him. So obviously his pace is very good. Ron here with the Corvette, which I think is on a very similar pace once again. But they are closing on Benaldi very slowly.
Yeah, just edging their way in. Just to remind you that out in front in this race is still Andrea Piccini and the Hexis Aston Martin. A very good start. They managed to avoid the dramas around the first corner. They came from the 3rd row of the grid to take the lead, and Hohenadel then, of course, he had to fight his way into the lead because he had to actually get past Stefan Mucker to do so in a great move. And now Andrea Piccini, who's in the car, has extended the lead. It's 4.1 seconds, just maintaining a lead out in front as we focus on this race further back for 5th place. Nissan versus Corvette across the line. Just over 7 minutes to go. Still no way through for the Corvette. Are they going to find a bit more space in the remaining few laps, and they're going to hope that those Nissans are working their tyres too hard?
Yeah, well, they're all closing up, so again we're going to have sort of a battle for the last part of the race, and you never know what can happen. Of course, pressure's going to be on all 3 of those guys. They're all trying to fight for one position, and they want to be on top.
Yeah, as you say, it's Benaldi who's maybe the one that's beginning to struggle on tyres now.
He is, yeah, for
His
sure.
teammate was in this position yesterday, of course, and
you're busy, perhaps.
David just doing some texting, is he, or what? His teammate, of course, busy out there on track at the moment, and Jamie Campbell-Walter. He's got his mirrors full of Corvette, and David Brabham's busy doing something else. Well, there's nothing you can do about it, is there? Oh, particularly. There's not much point in getting on the radio to Jamie and saying, come on, stay in front, because Jamie's got plenty of motivation to do that at the moment. But it won't be helped. Yeah, thanks, David. All right, you can put it away now. And there is that Corvette closing up. It won't be helped by the fact that they are closing up on Enrique Benaldi.
Absolutely. And Nicky Katzberg there in the red Corvette. Of course, Jamie's catching up to the back. So once they sort of, looks like could be this lap, once they really bunch up, of course, then the pace changes. And then they're treading on each other's toes, and that's where the opportunities for Nicky and maybe Jamie as well to get in front of that leading Nissan.
Yeah, so here we go. There's no real chance just yet. There is our lead car then, number 4, Andrea Piccini. And it was Christian Hohenadel in the car earlier, pulled off a lovely manoeuvre to take the lead. Let's go and hear from him.
Christian, you put in a fantastic stint. Do you think you're going to be able to take a home win?
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. I hope it would be very special for me, and I think for the team. And yeah, I actually am more nervous than in the car. I'm so nervous at the moment. For me, finger crossed, and I hope you too, that we win this race. Would be very grateful.
Thank you.
Yes, what it would mean for the German on home soil here, Christian Hohenadel, to take victory. It would be a massive achievement. It would be his first ever win in the GT1 World Championship. Same thing for Andrea Piccini. He's had great results in FIA GT, but not a win in GT1 World Championship. So if they can hold on, it would be a massive result, but you could feel the nervousness. They've still got a lead of 3.6 seconds. There's only under 5 minutes to go, so their prospects are pretty good. But look at Benaldi now, coming under more pressure from Jamie Campbell-Walter and the Corvette of Nicky Katzberg. These 3 cars are getting close together.
Yeah, and I see Benaldi starting to defend, and while he's defending, it's going to make it more difficult.
Mark Henrici, meanwhile, has got past Michael Krum, so the Ford has got past the Nissan. Let's see if we can find out where he did it, Johnny.
I think it's down at turn 3 again, isn't it?
Yeah, looks like
that's the normal. Yep, it is. It's the normal place that the Nissan seems to suffer. It really is hard on its front tyres. Oh, maybe there was a. Well, there was. There was a kiss and a push.
A little nudge.
There was.
A little love tap from behind, perhaps, but well, we'll see. But he certainly made the move. And Henrici now into 8th place, splitting the two JR Motorsport Nissans. The two Sumo Power Nissans here, though, are still running in 4th and 5th positions, with the Corvette ready to pick up the pieces if he can find a way through. They're being chased by Peter Dumbreck, who's still going well in the number 22 car, not losing much pace, but there are only 3.5 minutes to go. They're all beginning to run out of time.
Absolutely, but it's been a very much stronger performance from the Nissans. They did struggle real big time yesterday. They've done some few adjustments, I would guess, and it definitely has benefited them in a very positive way. Maybe they can learn from this for the future races to come as well.
Yeah, I think the race engineers will be well pleased with the performance that the cars have delivered here today. Bearing in mind what happened yesterday, and Benoldi's now having to defend from his own teammate Jamie Campbell-Walter. They might be teammates at Sumo Power, but of course they'll both want to be in front of one another. Vital points on offer in terms of the championship here today, and Benoldi will not make life at all easy. Down they come. Who's got the front end grip here? That's what it's all about, and the Corvette just tracks them through the corner. No way of slipping up the inside like the Ford was able to do on Michael Krum a moment ago.
No, and I think that's because that's the way that they've improved. That was their worst part of the circuit, and they've improved that massively, because that Corvette really hasn't got any chance of getting up the inside at all, which we saw seemed to be quite easy yesterday. So good job from the Nissan guys.
Yeah, he did it on Michael Krum there yesterday, and then, of course, lost the car himself, but he had made the move stick up to that point. So, just watching them as they come up over the rise, down through the right-handed kink at turn number 11, down towards turn 12, top speed down this back straight, and then onto the brakes. Jamie Campbell-Walter just moving around in the mirrors of Benoldi. It wasn't really a sort of an attempt to pass.
And even Dumbreck is actually closing on in the background there. The 4th guy just got a shot there, so they're all bunching up for this last few minutes of the race.
Well, Benoldi saw Warren Hughes having to defend busily yesterday and ended up missing out on a potential podium. Well, this is for 4th place, and Jamie Campbell-Walter having a little look there. Got to be so careful. The last thing they need to do is to make contact in the remaining lap or so. But you're right, that other Nissan is definitely joining in the fun and games behind them.
Yeah, well, obviously Benoldi is sort of, his pace has gone down a little because he's protecting now, so he's slowed up his pace, and of course that's probably, for the moment for him, he's not making any errors and he's not opening any doors, so he's actually doing a fine job on doing that with only a few minutes to go.
Still lapping in the 122s. Yesterday, when their tyres went off, they dropped to 1:24s. Lucas Law was struggling with, so they haven't lost as much pace as yesterday, but there's no doubt that Benoldi's struggling the most of these guys. Can he hold on in the closing moments of this race? Benoldi, the Brazilian, holding on in his Sumo Power Nissan from his teammate Jamie Campbell-Walter, and the Corvette behind, and as we said, Peter Dumbreck's joining in, and not far behind is the Ford as well of Mark Hinarici. So positions 4 through to 8 are undecided as our leader has gone on to his final lap. It's not going to be a problem, I think, for the Hex's Aston Martin that leads this race, but it could change behind in the 4th, 5th and 6th battle. Up out of the last corner they come, onto the final lap. Enrique Benoldi, Jamie Campbell-Walter, then the Corvette of Nicky Katzberg, chased by another Nissan of Peter Dumbreck. What's going to happen here? Last few opportunities coming up.
No.
He doesn't try there, and the Corvette goes in tight. Now, right on board the Corvette. What would you do, Johnny, here?
Well, I just wish that an opportunity and a door open, but I don't think we're going to get that. You've just got to sort of put that pressure on and be close if something actually sort of opens for you. But as we see, all these drivers, loads of experience, are not making any mistakes.
No, that's what it comes down to. And in the
background, there was a little one there from Nicky, I think.
Yeah, because it's allowed Dumbreck to get right on the tail of the Corvette. So the Corvette, from being an attacker, is now in a defensive mode, and the Ford is in behind as well. So whatever happened there, but there is our race leader. It is Andrea Piccini, and it looks as though they are going to take their first win. The driver pairing of Andrea Piccini and Christian Hohenadel win in GT1.
Great result.
At the Saxon Ring, second place goes to Nicky Pastorelli and Dominic Schwager, and third to Stefan Mucker and Darren Turner in their Aston Martin. It's an Aston Martin 1 and 3. Fourth place is going to go to the Nissan of Enrique Benoldi and Warren Hughes. They've managed to hold on. Across the line they come, and it's David Bradman and Jamie Campbell-Walter that finish in 5th. Nicky Katzberg and Mike Hazelman's car is in 6th place. Peter Dumbrecht's car finish is in 7th place. The car he shares with Richard Westbrook. But good result for the Al-Inkle Lamborghini crew as well as for the Hexis team. And, well, they'd love their other car to have been up there. It wasn't, but a victory for Hohenadel and Piccini. There's Dominic Schwalia. He's celebrating that 2nd place. But for the Hexis team, once again, there's Christian Hohenadel. A fantastic result. And as ever, it was a true team performance, wasn't it? That was lovely to see.
Lovely to see there. Yeah, they've done a cracking job. They've been pretty much there all weekend, as we see. One of the is she the team manager?
Not on that crew.
Not on
no,
that crew.
Philippe
Okay,
Dumas,
the
team manager on that particular crew. We saw him there, but it's a lovely family atmosphere in that team, and you could just see the emotion of victory for that car. Is a very special moment. That car taking its first win. We've seen the other car win already this year in the hands of Piccioni and Dusseldorf. They won in Abu Dhabi, but now this car, it had a 2nd place, this car at Zolder. So this is really going to boost them in terms of the championship. And they have now taken, they are one of the cars in the championship that has taken points in every championship race so far this year. A couple of the other cars that have done that, the Wendlinger Cox Lamborghini, that didn't score any points today. The Mucker Turner car is another one that has scored points on every occasion. And so interestingly is the Corvette of Hazelman and Katzberg. They've scored in every championship race so far, but some of the others today, Basseng and Winkelhock, for example, they've broken their run because they went out, and that was a huge disappointment to them. But for Piccini and Hohenadel, they can enjoy the moment, enjoy the celebrations already, because they have come away from a victory at the Sachsenring, and of course for Christian Hohenadel, it's a home victory on German soil. It's got to feel good.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's always nice to do something at your home race, and they did nothing wrong. They did the perfect strategy. Team, once again, we know is very good on its pit stops, and they did a great job again for them to take that victory.
Up into the pit lane then for the final time today, and it's Aston Martin leading Lamborghini and Aston. The Nissans, though, I think they should go away from this race. Okay, they'd love to have been up winning like they were at Portimao, but where they were on Friday, which was struggling, they have turned it around with all 4 cars getting into the points. Their best car in 4th, another one in 5th, and then the Dumbrecht Westbrook car in 7th, Michael Crook's car in 9th, so they've done pretty well. There's Hohenadel and Piccini, though. What a lovely shot that is, the two of them celebrating together. Really good stuff. And you know, Christian Hohenadel, the GT3 champion of last year, has stepped up brilliantly to this higher level, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always good when you've got a good teammate to help you through that process. And they seem to have a very good understanding with styles and what they need on the car. And as we see, the whole crew is pretty jubilant, I would say.
Wonderful scenes. Really great. And that's lovely. So Piccini and Hohenadel for the Hexis team take victory here, and we're going to see that celebrations going on deep into the night, I think. But it's a strong season again from this team. You know, as I said earlier today, they were 2nd in the team's championship with a fantastic end to the season. Nice to see the guys coming over, shaking their hands. But they had a strong end to last year, and they have started the season with both cars so effectively. A victory in Abu Dhabi, that 2nd place I mentioned as well that they've enjoyed at Zolder with this car, and now a victory. And Aston Martin, you know, Johnny, with 2 cars finishing on the podium here, consistent results, particularly from Stefan Mucker and Darren Turner, who you know, might not be shining on every racetrack, but the important thing is they're scoring points each time out.
Yeah, well, I was going to say exactly the same thing. Consistency is probably going to be very, very key. And that's something that they're doing very well at the moment, and you've just got to continue doing that. And if you can do that and be in all these sort of podium positions or just off of that, it's going to obviously help your championship. But the consistency is key.
Yeah, they were 2nd last time out, just to remind you, Mucker and Turner at Portimao. third again this weekend, so that's a back-to-back podium finishes.
Yeah.
They had a 5th place at Abu Dhabi, a 7th only at Zolder. So Zolder's been their worst result so far in what has been a strong season. There on the left, Nicky Pastorelli out of the Lamborghini. There's his teammate Dominic Schwager. They've come home second, and that is actually their best result of the season. They had a very difficult start to the race season. They've been fast all year. They were 4th last time out at Portimao. They've now earned their first proper podium finish in a championship race of the season. But the race winners, it's car number 4, the Aston Martin of Christian Hohenadel and Andrea Piccini, doing it in some style, I have to say. That move that Hohenadel made at the early part of the race to get past Stefan Mucker was a positive, determined, stylish piece of overtaking to take the lead, and from then on they were never headed. Let's get down to hear now from Christian Hohenadel and Andrea Piccini.
Congratulations, Andre. There's a few challenges on the way, but what a result.
Yeah, it's a great result. I mean, I think the team is doing from the beginning of the season a fantastic job, but I think that the national hero today is my teammate Christian, that did a fantastic first stint. When it was raining in the beginning, it was pushing like, it was dry only for him. So he gave me the car in the lead. The team did a perfect pit stop. I just had to control. For me, was quite easy. He did the most of the job today.
And congratulations. I can hear your home fans celebrating already, Christian.
Yes, it's very nice to have first victory for me in the GT1 is one step, and then if it's in Germany, it's even more better. So I'm very grateful for everything. Thanks for the team. Thanks for all supporters who helped me that. And nevertheless, I did it not alone. He maybe say that it's not alone. It was a hard job for him too. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
Good teamwork there between those two guys, and as I say, the man who stepped out of winning the GT3 championship last year, he won the €150,000 Michelin award, which enabled him to come to GT1, and he has delivered. Second place then, the Lamborghini, the Allenkel team. A best result for them of the season for these guys, Pastorelli and Schwager.
Congratulations, Nicky. Finally a good result for you.
Yeah, finally, like you said. Great. I mean, of course, thanks to the start that Dominic did, because the start was amazing. And yeah, we had the pace that we had already yesterday. So, yeah, great car, and nice to do this at a home race for the team. So, really happy for myself, for the whole team, for everybody.
And Dominic, a well-deserved finish on the podium there. Such a frustrating season so far, so it's great to see you finish there.
Yeah, I'm just really relieved. I'm not jumping for joy, but it's a start for us. We get some decent points, and the victory we have to get somewhere else. But anyway, the Aston was very quick, and I'm just happy that the car was great, and we had a good pit stop. Nicky kept the position, and yeah, from now on, we keep on pushing.
Thank you.
That's their best ever result in GT1, by the way. The only driver lineup that remains from last year unchanged. In third place, of course, Stefan Mucker and Darren Turner. As we say, they've been scoring points consistently over recent events. It's their second podium in a row after Portimao. Let's hear from them.
Congratulations, Darren. What a weekend you've had.
It's been pretty good. I mean, we had a bit of a roll last weekend and got some good points, and this is just continued. So if we can push that through to Silverstone, it'd be fantastic. But it's a really difficult circuit. Enjoyed qualifying, and you know, I'm just relieved to get to the end of the race without any damage and a nice bag of points.
And a great win for the team, Stefan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are happy here to finish on a podium. We didn't expect that. It was quite a tough race, especially at the beginning to warm up the tires. But yeah, third place is good. Very important points. And yeah, that's how it is. And now we are looking forward to Silverstone.
Thank you.
Nice to point out that we had a German driver in each of the three teams that ended up on the podium there. So let's just take a look at the result. Aston Martin take the win with Christian Hohenadel and Andrea Piccini, the Hexis team. The Lamborghini of Schwager and Pastorelli finished in second place, and then the Aston Martin of Mucker and Turner in third. So three Germans in the top three places. Warren Hughes and Enrique Benoldi got the Nissan home fourth ahead of Brabham and Campbell Walter's car. The Corvette finished sixth in the end. We hoped for more, but they got a little bit stuck in the queue, Hazelmans and Katzberg. The Nissan of Westbrook and Dumbreck finished seventh, the Ford of Leinders and Henerici, and then the fourth Nissan in the top 10 there of Lure and Krum. The Ford of Claret and Leclerc finished in 10th, the final point, first point there for Leclerc. Dusseldorp and Piccioni were unlucky and ended up outside the points. Winkelhocker-Basseng failed to finish after a wheel problem. Also out, Martin and Makovici, the qualifying race winners, and Vanina X and Christopher Nygaard. So, what does it all mean in terms of the championship? It's going to be interesting to look at those points because the Hexis team have certainly scored very effectively here this weekend. Mark Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock are not able to score, and we'll check those points in a few moments' time because, first of all, we're going to take a look at the podium celebrations. Up there already, Stefan Mucker and Darren Turner. Over on the left-hand side, we've got Nicky Pastorelli and Dominic Schwager. But coming up to receive the trophies for their first ever win in GT1, it is the pairing of Christian Hohenadel and Andrea Piccini as they get the support of their crew down there in the pit lane. Tremendous performance, and time for the anthems now.
So strahlen sie uns.
Well, they're continuing the anthem, even if it might have stopped blaring out of the loudspeakers for the moment. But the presentation's now to be made, and first of all to our third place finishers, the two Aston Martin drivers. Of course, German team, the young driver team. So they've had a good result. Stefan Mucker on home turf himself. Darren will be on home turf next time out at Silverstone. New pits will be run, I think, for the first time there. John, you're actually going along to Silverstone, I think, this week, aren't you?
On Tuesday, yeah.
Have a look at the new pits setup. So GT1 World Championship will be the first international car event to use the new pits at Silverstone. And I'm sure that Darren Turner will be looking forward to that. The Lamborghinis, well, they've been strong at every circuit we've been to this year, so do not discount them from a good result. But then you've got another Aston Martin pairing up there of Hohenadel and Piccini. They'll be busy celebrating this one without too many thoughts of Silverstone just yet, I'm sure. They've come to Sachsenring and shown everybody the way home. And it was a well-earned victory with that move in the early laps from Hohenadel. Didn't look as though he was still in his first year at this higher level. Look at that reaction. Lovely, lovely stuff. They are one of the friendliest teams in the paddock. They really help us out as well with stuff that we've needed to do on the TV side of things, and yet they are incredibly competitive. They will be leading that team's championship as they were before they came into this event, in fact, but they'll have a little bit more of an advantage now, I think, than they had before. And so time for the photos to be taken, and also, of course, for the champagne spray. That's always a good feeling.
Absolutely, and it's nice for these guys to finally sort of relax and enjoy the moment.
Yeah, so it's an open championship, there's no doubt about it this year, Johnny. I mean, you've come in, you've been watching them this year, first time you've been at one of the events. Difficult to call exactly, you know, which, I mean, because some of the cars work at some tracks and not at others. It's actually really hard to work out how this is all going to progress.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we saw the sort of the domination of the Nissans in Portimao. That didn't materialise here. It seemed to sort of swap from yesterday to today. We didn't quite see the Corvette maybe doing as quick as we thought it might do. The Ford didn't sort of quite produce what we expected as well. But I think this is where it's fascinating because it seems to be just a load of swings and roundabouts. And I think, as we both said before, the consistency looks like being key.
Yeah, so it's who's going to be fast at Silverstone, and then going on throughout the rest of the championship. They'll be going to Navarra in Spain, tight, twisty Navarra. Paul Ricard, where he got a bit more chance to stretch the legs off the engines. So here we are, championship positions, and in fact, Hohenadel and Piccini have taken the lead, courtesy of that victory. Mucker and Turner are second, and look where Basseng and Winkelhock are now. They were leading the series, and now down to third, but the gap is only 4 points between them and the leaders. Piccioni and Dusseldorp had a chance here today, but unfortunately they're still a bit of a way down. And Pastorelli and Schwager are at last beginning to make their presence felt. They're in 7th, ahead of the Brabham Campbell Walter Nissan and the Cox Wendlinger Lamborghini. Enrique Benoldi's points tally has massively improved this weekend, with new teammate Warren Hughes alongside. quick look at the team's championship if we can. The Hexis team, there you are leading 105. Alinkel in second, but only 1 point ahead of Young Driver in third. So, as we have said, has been an up and down day for various different teams. Let's take a look back at the highlights of today's championship race. Bit of cloud around before the race got underway. We wondered if we might see some rain. It stayed dry, but a lot of it was about this first corner. The Aston went in deep. There was a touch from Stefan Mucker on the back of the forward of Maxime Martin. That shot him out wide, and also off went Westbrook and the Nissan. But then also separately going on was a clash between Wendlinger and Thomas Enger going down the hill. Enger ended up off, Wendlinger was off, so was his teammate Max Nielsen. So sadly we lost a bunch of cars on this opening lap. There was the spin of Wendlinger, and we also saw Vanina X get involved in that. She ended up with damage to her car. That was Thomas Enger's battered Aston Martin, and that brought the safety car out in the early stages. We wondered whether it was going to rain. In fact, we got a few drops, but not enough to actually make the track very slippery. And as the race got underway once again, several cars went on the attack. The Corvette began to make its presence felt, and up front it was clearly going to be a big challenge. Pit stops, and some very fast pit stops as ever. The Hexis team performing brilliantly, but they were already in front at that point, and they stayed in front. That was the moment that the championship leading car went off. It looked as though a wheel nut had come off, and all Marcus Winkelhock's work in the early part of the race ended up for nothing. A puncture as well for Clivio Piccioni after his car was well up there to score points, meant that he made an extra pit stop, and that of course really hurt him. He ended up at the back of the finishers. We saw other cars trying to make their way through. This was a move from Mark Henrici in the closing stages to get past the number 23 Nissan. But while it looked as though we might see other changes in this particular group, in fact, nothing did alter. And up front, it was a victory for Hohenadel and Pacini for the other Hexis Aston Martin. Thanks for joining us for GT1 World Championship. From Ben Edwards, Johnny Herbert and Hayley Coxon, see you next time. Bye-bye for now.